Call it, Mr. Chairman.
Call to order the Wright County Board of Adjustment for June 5th, 2020. First order agenda would be the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve May's minutes of the meeting.
I'll second it.
Then moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
We got it this time, but try to remember to do the roll call since we have people that aren't.
Okay.
lives.
Okay, Barry, it's,
Yes, first item up is Christian Sherry Block. Give your names to Terry, please. Unmute. Chris is on WebEx, and so I just unmuted Chris, so he's here as well. And so give your names to Terry, please.
Sherry Block.
I'm Jeremiah Battles. I'm the architect working with them on the design.
Can you hear everything, Chris? That looks like low bandwidth. Are you there, Chris? The message said low
Hey, yeah, the audio is picking up pretty bad, so, but this is Chris Block here on this end, thanks.
Yeah, it says you have low bandwidth, so.
Yeah, we'll talk to TDS about that, but thank you.
Give me just 1 second. Okay, so what we're dealing with is a 6,873 square foot lakeshore lot. That's from the lake to the road, and a 6,250 square foot back lot on Lake Ida. The request is for a new 960 square foot dwelling that'll replace a two-story dwelling that will replace a 504 square foot one-level structure. That current structure was approved by the board as a day-use only structure as replacement in 1997. It was on a holding tank under an outhouse, and it was back to the board in 2007, because there was a restriction from 1997 requiring the holding tank to be removed upon sale. And so there was an appeal of that in 06 and another appeal of that in 2015, where the board removed the condition of the holding tank review upon sale. That application was brought forth by the current applicants. At that 2015 hearing, the board did extend the condition that the structure be day use only. The proposed structure would be 44 feet from the lake at the closest point, 13 feet from both property lines, and 53 feet from the center of the road. WebEx throws up a lot of windows, so I have to move around sometimes. So this is the survey showing the proposed location of the structure, along with the sewer for it will be a new full in-ground system on the back lot. I believe it is a type 3 system, or type 4. I'd have to read through the sewer design again, but it is not a standard system. And then the two-story house, it does have a balcony out the front that does extend that lake setback to the 44 feet. The plan as was submitted shows the lowest floor elevation being 1.3 feet lower than the 4 foot required above the highest known water level. The township did give a response approving the request for the structure, but did note that they wanted to see the elevation requirement met. So I don't actually think I have any more, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Would you folks have anything to add?
And board members, please speak up if you can, because your audio for the people on the WebEx is coming through that other phone device.
No, we're looking to improve the property. Currently, there is no septic on the property for us to use, so we're looking to make this more into a full-time place. Honestly, we're looking to make it into our retirement home so we can stay here. We own a place up the street from it. So that is the reason for doing this, is it long-term structure, is that's our goal, is to have it be a retirement home. So septic on the back, just kind of improve the property. We're having trouble with the current pier system that is there. When we purchased the property, we had a company come in and lift actually the building because the piers are not below the frost line. So we're having trouble with the building raising on the street side and not on the lake side. So we've already had that done once since we've owned it, and we're probably gonna have to do it again because the piers on the roadside are coming up every year because it wasn't done properly from the start. So we're just trying to really fix it and bring it up to current standards that exist for Wright County. We've been very cognizant in working with an architect to ensure that we allow the most minimal disruption to the property by doing this. We've talked with all of our neighbors to make sure that they are comfortable with what we are proposing. You should have letters from both of the neighbors on either side. We've gone further down as well and haven't had anyone that has said they are against the plan. So we're just looking to upgrade it to a more current facility that we can use year-round. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess from a design standpoint, first, can you hear me okay? My wife's a nurse, so I'm taking extra precaution with the mask, so. So just some general things about the design. From the beginning, we were trying to keep this as compact as we could, and still keeping with the 24-foot width, but we tried not to go forward to the lake farther than the neighbors. Tried to keep the footprint smaller, keep the height down so we're below the height and we meet all the requirements. So that was a part of the design. The other thing to consider is if you look at the elevations that were provided, I'm doing some things with the siding to try to break down the scale to make it feel smaller, so the different siding types and things like that and the bigger windows. So. And actually the balcony on the lake side and the canopy on the front, those are design elements not, meant to try to make the scale feel smaller to add some interest to it and make it look better. So even though they are technically considered encroaching into those setbacks, they're sort of more minimal features, but they're meant for aesthetic reasons and to help make the transition look a little nicer. But sit slightly on the site.
Okay, you did look at the county's requirements for setbacks and everything before
Yep.
you started
Yep.
with
So
your
we
pencil.
We had the survey done, and basically the survey is, the lot's not buildable with the current requirements, because there's that, you can see in there's just a little, area in the rectangle on the survey, if you're looking at that, that has the setbacks going in. So we set it in the center so it could be, as far away from the neighbors as possible, and then, no closer to the lake than the neighbors. And actually, the front landing actually sits farther back than the current landing, so in some ways we're pulling back a little bit. There's a front berm there that we have to consider too, because there's a little berm in the front, so if we actually pull farther back, it's better to be kind of right at the front of that so things slope away, but that was another consideration as well.
It is considered a further encroachment, both in the lakeside wall and with the balcony. The existing patio or kind of ground level deck that's there now is not included in setback standards. So considered.
We are in line with the neighbors. The building is exactly in line with all of the neighbors that have built full-time residences there, so we're not going further than anyone that has already previously built a structure. Then we're in line with the neighbors next to us. So that was, we've been working very actively in trying to get feedback from Barry in reference to how do we provide the least amount. When we looked at the building, we said we'd come in and build it only 20 wide because then we would have our side setbacks. We're not able to do that because the minimum standard for building a house is 24. So we said, okay, we'll only go to 24, so we're asking for the least amount of, variances. Our neighbors are at 26. The Williams are at 26. We're trying to be at 24. Our neighbors are at 40 or at 42. We're coming in at 40. We're really trying to minimize the footprint to the least amount of disruption, asking for the variances. We're trying to be very cognizant of all of those pieces while trying to balance a structure that is functionally useful, if that makes sense.
Right. But a lot of those things that you're talking about, we had no input. I mean, those were done years ago. Rules have changed, which
Right.
now we have to function under, including state and federal as far as lake setbacks and everything else. So being in line with people who are already not in line with the feds and, on the lake situation. Those are things that we have to look at. and have to make our decisions on. Okay, so let's start with Dan down there.
Okay.
Before we do that, Chris, do you have anything more to add?
No, I think they covered it well, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else on this call that has any comments on this particular item? Okay, well, we'll turn it over to the board.
Dan?
Well, I noticed a couple of things that kind of, seems like there's just a little too much, and from the numbers here, it looks like we're moving 5 foot closer to the lake. Usually as being on the board that I've seen us more acceptable to move away from the lake would be something I'd be more in favor of. I noticed you notified your neighbors, told them the house is 38 by 24. And, because that's what their improvement all says, 38 by 24, and it's 40 by 24. I think there could be something done on the lake, but the way it sits, I would have a real hard time with it. Because a 3-bedroom house and all your sewer system's bigger, so you're pushing that tight too to the road. So I think you need to downsize a lot, and then we come back here maybe for something but a lot smaller. That's my take on it.
Paul?
You know, from my standpoint, you're taking a restricted day use only, that's one. You're doubling the footprint. You're increasing the livability 4 times, and you're encroaching the distance on 4 sides. That's a lot to ask for in a variance. Normally, when we get a variance, it's 1 or 2 items. But here, we're basically almost, throwing out the book per se. That's not to not acknowledge the fact that you're working very hard at trying to make this work and fit. I mean, you've done your homework, and but to ask for that many variances as it sits now, it's hard for me to approve it. Some of the deal breakers, I'm willing to work with you as far as rebuilding a structure, but it has to be near the same footprint or size. I'm willing to vary a little bit, give you a little room as far as design. A couple things that I don't want to see when you do resign is further encroachment on 3 sides. If we are going to encroach, let's encroach back away from the lake. We don't want to go toward the lake. That is definitely a deal breaker. Anytime we're 44 feet from the lake, it really gets our attention. It really matters. The other deal breaker is the lowest floor being 1.3 feet below the required amount. I'd want to see that brought up. And then the second story, the only thing is I don't want it to exceed the neighbors. I was really glad to hear you say how you worked hard at scaling it down, the impact from the lake view. That's just spot on, what I like to see. I mean, you guys are really doing a lot of things right, but you're just asking for a lot of variances here. It would make it very difficult for me to approve them all. And the other factor that I would like to hear is the water drainage, and trying to see if we can divert that water either in the other direction of the lake or to have some sort of water management program. So as the plans are submitted now, I know it's only a foot here and a foot there, but when you add it all together, it does have a big impact on how I'm looking at this. So if you could go back and make some changes, I am willing, I don't know what my other board members are, but willing to work with you in putting a new structure, but it's going to have to be pretty close to the existing footprint with the idea if you were to expand, it'd be in the backside. So that's pretty much where I sit on it.
Okay.
Charlotte?
Charlotte, are you there?
I'm here, just hold on. Okay, I've been able to hear what Dan and Paul have said, and I agree largely with everything they said. So I won't repeat a lot of that. Some other questions. Since this is supposed to be for a future retirement home, I don't see any garage or any additional storage that's going to impact impervious coverage. If and when they're added, they should be planned for now, if that's even possible. Also, how big is the parking area? There's nothing marked on here, and that will impact impervious coverage. On the call on the elevation of the lowest floor, especially for drainage, has been an issue. There needs to be a stormwater management plan, probably a shoreline buffer, although they say there's some sort of, not swale, what do you call it, berm toward the shore. But this is really too much done too small a piece of property.
No.
That's about all I have to add.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. Dan?
Barry, question for you. Can you go back to the map where the proposed, it's not the map, the layout, no, the property layout right there. Now, the neighbor on the lower portion, they had to have had variances for their property coming in there, correct?
We'll take a look.
If, you know, I mean,
I believe the one to the north is actually more, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just, actually right now I'm going to, yeah, in fact, I know they.
Would- and maybe the applicant can answer this for me. Are the neighbors on both sides, are those lived in or year-round homes?
One to the north is, the one to the south is not.
And that's just a cabin
It's a cabin.
that's
Yeah,
used?
it's owned by the people that live in the first house. So when you come into the street, there's a full-time residence, and then there's that house, and then there's ours. The one next to it is owned by the people at the first house.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a family cabin.
It's a family cabin,
It's a
so when you have
family cabin.
overflow.
Yes, it's a
Yes.
family cabin.
Okay, that is the cabin to the south.
That is not the cabin to the south.
I didn't think so.
That is not the cabin to the south.
I'm pulling up what the assessor has, and it's like,
That's not,
you know, and I wonder,
I mean, sorry.
wondering how, no, I'm with you, but this is what it shows me. I know it's not, I've been out there. Right.
That is, oops,
Okay.
right there.
That one-
That's their
that one looks
lakeside,
correct.
yep, and that is their cabin.
That's it.
Yep,
Yeah.
that
That's the
is
cabin to the south.
correct.
And, you know, looking at the way it's laid out, there had to be variances for that, or maybe not, because it's been grandfathered in.
Age.
And that's not the cabin to the north, I can guarantee you that.
No, the one to the north is
That's
that.
that one.
Okay,
That is
so
our
that's-
neighbor.
That's your neighbor to
That's
the
our
north.
direct neighbor.
I know that one went through the variance before my time.
But that did probably go through variances, because
Yes,
that is
they
a
got
newer.
variances on all sides. We've talked extensively with them through this process, and they offered to be here, but we thought with the letter, it wasn't necessary. So, but, you know, if there's a continuance or whatever, I'd be happy to bring them back, because they're more than,
Yeah. I guess the reason I'm asking these questions is, you know, looking at it, looking at our maps, it's not unbuildable. We have to come up with something that will fit, okay? Looking at how close the other properties are, you know, that 13 feet, it's 2 feet on each side. We've done variances there before. We've made that work. Lakeside, I'm with everybody here. I mean, Lakeside, we gotta work on pulling back or doing whatever we can there.
sure,
you
that's
know.
fair.
So I think we need, you know, township is asking for it to be raised up.
Yep.
I agree with Charlotte on parking on some of those things, and for coverage, a little bit more information is what I would be asking for. I mean, we've done these before. I don't know that we need a site inspection. I mean, I think what we're seeing is good, but we need a little more detail, a little bit more detail on water retention or how to handle those things. I guess that's where I'm coming from. I mean, 13 feet side yard setback, looking at what the other buildings are at, we've done 2 feet. You know, we have done that. I'm very agreeative with everybody here, lake setback, absolutely, you know, and if you're going to do anything with, you're gonna want storage down the road. We know that. I mean, you're gonna be coming for that, so even if you don't do it today, maybe have that laid out so we don't get too much impervious coverage, so you can look at that and have that planned for a little bit, would be some of my suggestions.
A couple things. So there's another portion of the property on the other side of the road.
Yep.
Just everybody's aware of that. So that's what most likely where we'd do the parking.
Yep, but at least have that laid out
Yep.
so we know, so the sewer is gonna be, you know, if you can set the sewer back a little bit or move that and still have room and not infringe upon that site for a garage or boat storage or water accessory storage?
We would do the same thing as probably what the neighbors have done there. I mean, it's pretty, what do I want to say, cookie cutter on the back lots, what neighbors have done. When we came forward with this plan, we were told that that's a completely separate request and variance and all of that. So we didn't want to
Muddy the
commingle.
waters?
Yeah, I don't want to commingle, right?
Right.
So we were told, so we said, we're gonna wait on that because we don't want to muddy the waters and we don't want the back thing to be contingent on the front thing. We're trying to do one at a time so that we're not muddying those waters. So that's why there is no plan for that, because we were told that's a completely separate issue because that's a separate lot. So it's a separate request.
Okay.
So that is why
And
we're,
just, since I have the sewer plan up, just so the board is aware, you know, these mounds have slopes to them, and so we have 20 feet from the edge of the treatment area to the property line. By the time you slope in the mound, you're not gonna have that. You're gonna have maybe 12 feet in order to put any type of driveway or parking in, and that's right up to the property line. Ordinance does specify driveways 5 feet. So if you do some type of detached garage back here, there's gonna be limited area by the time it's all said and done, just because that mound takes up a significant amount of that.
And that sewer system is based on a 3-bedroom, right?
correct,
If that is
yes.
smaller, that may get a little smaller to.
Yes,
allow
it is
something to
based on a
work.
3-bedroom.
Or, you know, there again, I'd have to look at through the specifics of the plan. You know, there are other options as far as types of systems that could potentially be done that could reduce the size of the mound too. You know, a type 4 system with some type of pretreatment in the tanks could reduce the size of that mound even further. This one does not have those types of pretreatment. It has time dosing, which makes it a type 3. I have to look through it again. Not the sewer expert, I'm just going by what my rudimentary knowledge is.
A couple other things, so can certainly get a stormwater management plan done, that's no problem, and we are planning on raising it up there. So we mistakenly used the ordinary high water line rather than the standard or the highest point water line for that, so we'll raise that up and that won't, will still be well below the height requirements. For clarification, so just in terms of, we can push things back, certainly, knowing that, you know, then it'll, you know, shifting things back in the other direction, but a better clarification would be some of your comments earlier about, you know, just trying to keep it to within the existing footprint type of thing. So I mean, because then we're going to be asking for another variance to, you know, have a less than 24-foot width. So I mean, which we can do, but there's, you know, considerations there too. But it sounds like what we're hearing overall is pushing it back primarily is number one, getting the height set right, water management, considering overall site with garage for future, even though that wouldn't be done now. But the variable to me is just, you know, how small, you know, what we can do and you know, and then that, you know, in terms of the plan, just how we can, you know, fit things in and work. So that I don't know, maybe we could talk a little bit more about that, just what might be more acceptable. I know it's a hard.
No, that's fine. You know, that's what's nice about this board here. You know, we're here to work with you. And, you know, we all have different ideas and we discuss things. And it was interesting to listen to Dan. And, you know, I was pretty rigid on the width and the side variance. But, you know, having looked at the neighbors and having discussed this, I'm a little more flexible on the width, you know. So, but I would still like to see it, if possible, reduced. But again, I think you hit for me, I can't speak for everyone else, you hit all the high notes. And if you could address that, come back with a plan, I think you'd be, you know, real close, if not spot on, as far as.
The width is pretty much set, though. You have to have a
We have to have
24
24
foot.
foot.
Yeah.
And so you can't get it
Right,
at a 50-foot lot.
right,
So that's
right.
understandable.
So as long as you're okay with
13.
that, we'll work with the
Yeah.
other ones.
So if
Moving
we
towards the
if we
lake and maybe
pushed it
not-
back, definitely, and tried to compress the length of it overall to a little bit if possible. And then I guess the other thing just so we come back with, you know, appropriate stuff. So the back balcony and the front covered entry. I know those are, once it's a covered entry, it's sort of considered within that. But again, I look at that as sort of a minimal piece that's more about aesthetics and making it feel right. Would those pieces be considered something that would, we could leave in potentially, or is that something that, what I don't want is just to have a box, that looks taller. So I just want to get a sense of how much flexibility there might be there.
If the board doesn't mind, I'll address that. It's not necessarily about them coming or going, it's about how you can make it all fit and make some improvements to the setbacks. I don't think the board is saying get rid of those two pieces, but take those into consideration when you're factoring in how everything fits on the lot, because those are included in the setback standards and in the coverage sizes and everything. So I don't think it's not a no, those things can't be. But make sure they're properly thought of when you're looking at, replacement and, revising and yeah, and I agree with the board. I think knowing exactly what is there for parking is going to be an integral part, because if you're going to park on this side at all, that's considered an impervious surface. Whether it's grass, if you continually drive or park over it, it's considered all driving and parking surfaces.
So we have enough room in the impervious, we're okay, because we meet both the structural and impervious, even for this one side of the lot, so that won't be an issue, but I think the intent is not to park on this side anyway. The intent is to kind of keep everything on the other side to sort of keep things spread out a little bit, so, but that can be, factored into the equation as well. And even the front walk, and I don't know how that's considered impervious, but they were just gonna do wood chips to try to keep the drainage and everything.
Yeah, the walk itself, any type of walk across, as long as it's not pavers or concrete or deck, fine. We include decks, we do include wood chips or even crushed rock. We don't include it, but if it's concrete or wood, then it is.
Plus with the design, you're gonna wanna, I think it opens it up to later on to come back for, we want a stairs to get down for in case, we've had that issue before too. So when the deck's off that back end, that could potentially come back and want to add on to the next buyer.
Well, there already
or
is an
whatever, so.
existing deck there. There is a deck currently that's there.
Well,
So maybe we
stairs
try
and-
to find a way to incorporate that into the design since it's already there. Because there's a berm, so my concern is with us raising it up, we're gonna have a lot of steps coming down. But if we leave that berm and that deck and maybe try to incorporate into that in some manner, I don't know.
Yeah, so there's with that berm, and then the landing there, where it's set now, so the landing comes, so you come out on the top of the berm, and when we pull it back a little bit, you come back to this little, which creates issues for drainage into the, which we, of course, slope away from the site, but it still creates a little valley there, so.
I'm just thinking in your design factor, kind of factor that in, that if it's passed, we're probably gonna put some stipulation that there cannot be any more encroachment towards the lake, I would imagine.
Yeah, we'd be okay with that.
Okay.
And you're talking the
Steps or
lakeside.
anything.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking
okay.
lakeside, yep.
And like I say, it's considered part of the impervious surface, but that deck that's there is ground level, so it's not considered as part of the setback standard. Ground level detached. So if you're gonna incorporate it, it's gotta be detached from the home. It cannot be physically connected to the house. Then that's not included as part of that setback standard.
So just to clarify that landing piece that we're talking about, right? So, first off, it needs to be attached as a landing to get outside the house, right? At least 3 foot for code and stuff like that, and just safety. And then transition down. And so, that's kind of a done deal in that part, so, but we'll work within that constraint. So then it's about, if it was a detached piece, what you're commenting on, then it's a separate, situation, but, so that's something we'll have to talk more about, but there's not the.
Detached less than 30 inches above grade is patio, basically, that is factored into the setback standard.
Oh, yeah, it's because the neighbors have that patio that comes a
Yeah.
lot farther forward, so that explains that overall a little bit more.
Yeah, in fact, that one at one point had about 50% concrete in-house on that property. Have them removed. After the variance, built a 8-foot wide boat landing from the lake all the way to the road.
Can you bring up the neighbor's property again?
I have one more comment on that, just going back to the detached. I mean, it just seems like it'd be, just a loophole type of thing, but I mean, if we set it apart 6 inches and you step over it, is that, I mean, are we talking about something like that, or should we really just?
It can be abutted against it, it just can't be physically.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, because then if we do that, you know, then you could step over a 2-inch gap, and then if that meets the requirements and we have it on a separate structure, then that automatically
Is that-
pushes
do you want
the,
the
Yep,
picture?
that's what I was.
that
thinking, was
automatically
their
pushes
patio.
us back, you know, the 3 feet from where we are now, farther more, because the 44 feet that we're working from is from that landing, not from the face of the house. That gives us, that's helpful, that gives us something to go from, because then we can definitely work with that.
Yep.
I think I measured on the survey, it's about 4 feet from the wall of the cabin to the edge of the balcony, so that 4 feet long. Setback was a 4-foot further encroachment because
Yeah,
the
yep,
balcony
yep.
factors differently than that patio does.
Okay, I think as you've heard from all of us, the biggest,
I do have one bit of clarification. So the board is talking about making some improvements to the lake setback. So
Correct.
what kind of number is the board looking for?
I would definitely not want any more encroachment and probably a little bit of pushback myself. Feet at
We
least.
have, I was looking at a number 50 feet, 55 feet. I mean, it's really open right now, and so I'd like to give them a little more. And is the board looking at reduction in the house? If we're just talking about,
Yeah,
I think so too.
if we're just talking about just movement of the structure, you know, we could potentially deal with it now. If we're talking about both movement and potentially a reduction of some type, well, let's get some more clarification, because right now, you know,
Yep.
if I'm instructed to help them or to give them parameters, I don't know what the parameters are. I don't know where to start. I just heard, well, the structure may be a little too big, and definitely the lake setback, but kind of what, where,
Well,
how
if you-
much type of thing, I'm a little bit up in the air on it myself. And they usually call me to get clarification, and I don't know what to give them.
I guess if it's 53 feet from the road right away now, you don't want to go that way really, so it would be downsizing the house, right?
It's not up to me.
I believe,
That's up to the
personally, I
board.
think it's a lot of house for that little of a lot. A lot of expansion compared to what was there, so. And then 2-bedroom would shrink the septic system too and keep us off of that, because there's 10 foot there. I know it's a separate issue, but isn't it already a variance for that to approach the road?
Just the tanks that are on the lake side are
Okay.
right up against that right of way. And so, although it is a sign off by the township on that side, the existing holding tank, which is gonna be converted or replaced in that location, is less than the 10 feet.
Okay.
So it's, since we're asking for a variance on one part of the system, we throw everything in. So although the township could conceivably just say, yeah, you could have it less than 10 feet, this board could say, well, no, you need to set a specific number.
We're trying to reuse the outhouse sits on an existing 1,250 gallon tank.
Sure, I did read that.
We'd like to
but
reuse
I
that.
didn't see the part that Barry pointed
Yeah.
out to me.
There's a
so.
second tank that then sits
Yep.
to the south of that existing tank, and that's the pump tank that's gonna,
The pump.
so there are no tanks on the back, it's just the pump. And yeah, there's a bunch like that out there where.
That's the way they're all kind of
yeah,
designed
they-
out there.
They dig under the road, insulate everything, pump them out.
I read that much last night.
I know, it's okay.
A few different things in
I
there.
know.
Confusing.
It's a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah, it's okay.
So is there any?
But Barry, what size, or do you know the footprint of the neighbor's house? I know I'm getting hung up on that, but
I can tell you that.
I don't.
I can tell you exactly what.
They are 26 by 42.
That's 26 by 42,
That's 26 by 42.
and that's on a 50-foot wide?
It is.
Really?
Yep. Well, that's why we're under them already with 24 by 40. And then the
Yeah, by 40.
existing one that's down on the other side, which is Williams, they're 3 down from us. Theirs is 26 by 36. So you've got 2 properties there on either side of us.
And that, your neighbor's house was built or put in, added on, how long ago? How many years?
The variance and the permit were all done in 04.
More.
The lot to the south is an original cabin. You don't even have a
Sure.
permit on that one.
I'm more hung up on the setback from the lake.
Right.
And we've given plenty of variances from the roads as long as the townships agree. It's still gonna fit within the community. It's not like it's 100% all cabins there. You know, I know Charlotte may disagree with me, but it's a day use thing. It's still a buildable lot. We're progressing forward. I mean, I don't want to I'm not willing to go any bigger or go closer or anything like that. I mean, we have to stay within our parameters. The neighbors have already gotten a variance, obviously, to be able to do what they did with a little bit 2-foot larger house. I don't want to go any higher than the neighbors. I mean, we got to make sure we stay either lower or make it aesthetically, you know, in the community. That's important to me, that, you know, all of a sudden you don't have one towering way up or whatever. It's got to fit.
Have we determined the impervious coverage and how your future storage is going to be? That's all going to be on the back lot?
Yeah, so that's considered a separate, so you have to look at that as a separate piece, so that wouldn't impact anything we're doing here. And we're all quite a bit under the impervious for this part.
So, yeah, so if there was an additional sidewalk or something
Yeah,
like
we'd
that.
still be okay. We
got
might even be
plenty of
able to do
room?
a, you know, they wouldn't do it, but it might be able to do a smaller pad or something like that, but that's not in the plans or, you know, in part of the, basically everything that we show here is, so they don't have, for example, an idea of doing another patio or something up close to the lake later. This is sort of kind of the overall scheme of it, aside from any sort of garage structure on the other lot. And I think that would probably be down the road, I don't know.
We're down the road.
A long
yeah.
ways
The
anyway.
only thing where that would play into, you know, this particular audit, it is a consideration here, because if we're looking at parking and screening, we need to make sure that, okay, if we're looking at that, where that septic is, well, can you provide driveway access and a building and meet all the numbers on that particular side as well?
Yeah.
You know, there again, it's because if not, you're gonna have to provide something on the other side. You kind of have to jump back and forth to meet the totality. We look at those coverage numbers separately for either side. And so, you know, the two back lots are a little bit smaller. So if you do a, you know, standard size 2-car garage, 576 square feet, now you're running a driveway that's gonna go back 70 feet, that's 10 feet wide, and then you're gonna have an apron getting in and out of the garage, it's gonna be 24 by 24. So all of a sudden now you're, you know, pushing your impervious numbers on that side because you can't add anything on the other side, you know, and so it does push stuff back and forth when you look at it, just because individually, which that's the way we have to look at it because of the road and everything else, neither of them are very big. And so pushing the driveway further back definitely will impact the impervious on that back lot quickly.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that before with cabins that are, you know, long, narrow lots. Cabins are way up front. You need a driveway to get to an attached garage. All of a sudden, your impervious is way out of whack because you have, you know, 70 or 80 feet of driveway you have to put in order to access it. The one thing I will mention too, you know, there's been discussion on the day use portion. That was back with the previous owner. The only backlot they owned was that front, really small one that you can see there, the one directly across. And so they have, the new owners have purchased the one behind that. And so when these were done, these were all platted by the Williams a long time ago, and that previous owner never did own that bigger backlot. So this, having them purchase it, has now allowed that septic, room for the septic on that back lot. That's where kind of one of the differences is when the day use was done in 97 and the situation now is they do have a much more substantial back lot that can provide more than what the previous one little back lot in the front could provide. Just as a, you know, some historical information on how this stuff is going.
Another thing I guess I would ask is if it needs to be a 2-car garage, you know, if impervious is an issue there.
You don't even have to put a garage back there.
Yeah, so, because, I mean,
I don't want to muddy the waters with that. I really
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, so
We're
that-
getting into so many.
No, but just so you're aware.
I agree.
This all does.
I agree.
One, they're not completely separate. One does impact the other. So when they're asked about storage, well, yeah, we could just put stuff back there. Well, you can, but remember, there's limitations there. Not saying it's a big factor, but just be aware of the totality of the situation.
I mean, even, for example, even if,
What?
I don't mean to keep dragging it out, but was that just oversight, or did you get the plans after, when you contacted your neighbors and said 38? by 24?
Yeah, that was just an oversight. It was always at that 40, so I'm sorry that we did
Okay.
that. And we'd be happy to get another letter from them, because like I said, we've had no issues. They offered to even attend the meeting today, and we were like, no, I think the letter's gonna be good enough. We didn't want to take their work time from their day, but I would be more than happy to get a new one for you if we get a continuance.
That wouldn't really be necessary for me. I was just thinking that you may have had a plan at 38 and then you changed last minute and.
They had a couple of renditions for the plan. In fact, they sent me the wrong one. So
Okay.
their write-up on what they wanted to do didn't match the plan, so I talked to Sherry and we got the right plan.
Yeah,
So
we've been going back and forth a lot, just to
Okay.
try to make this.
Well, because I was gonna say, maybe make it 38 by 24 and push it back to existing or whatever, so you ain't
Okay.
encroaching the road that much more, you know, that's my thought, but.
So the board wants an improvement on a setback. Do you have a rough number or just in general, 50 to 55, you know?
I'd like to see it in that 50 to 55. I mean, I don't know that we've ever been under a 50, especially not what we're doing here. I mean, normally it's 60.
Yeah,
but
60 is what I was
I
gonna
mean,
say.
60
yeah.
would be wonderful,
Yeah.
but I don't know,
We can. no.
I don't know if that's gonna work on this lot. It's gonna be pretty tight and encroaching with sewers and tanks.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, I mean, there is a hardship here.
Yeah.
I mean, there is,
Yeah,
And
in my opinion.
I agree with you.
Update the sewer, so that's good.
If we can get back to 50 to 55 would be great.
And then there's one other, just comment from a design standpoint, you know, there's the sort of the uniformity now where the other structures are sort of placed, you know, once you
Yeah.
do slide it back, then it starts to look really out of whack there, you know, from the roadside, which I know is a lesser, you know, issue potentially, but there's that factor too, where sort of it's a balancing act where yeah, it's gonna actually stand out more when it comes out that way, you know, even though it doesn't from the lakeside, so.
Yep. And
Existing is 49 right now.
What are we at right now, Barry? 44?
It said
The
49.
existing one,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's at 48.
okay. So 50 would be 2 feet. 50 for me would work.
Yeah, so that's certainly.
That's
yeah,
doable.
Very easily, and that's not gonna impact the look from the road either or anything, so.
Should we,
I think,
I think we should look at a continuance.
yep.
Charlotte, do you have more comment?
No, I'm pretty much in agreement with what's been said.
Okay. I just didn't want to forget you.
Yep,
I get 48 and a half, 47 and a half, 48 feet. Right.
Yeah, if we can get 50 or a little more.
If we can get 51, 52,
Yeah.
you know, scenario. You can
And
just-
that's to the balcony.
Yeah, for the encroachment
The
upon the.
closest projection of the house. that-
Whether it's balcony or not.
Yeah.
Now, can steps come out onto the deck?
Yeah, so there are a couple things. So when we raise this up, that 16 inches to get that height, we're gonna have some more steps. So I have to check on that 30 inches. And the other thing is, because there's a berm, there's a lot of variables,
There's a
because
berm there,
we're gonna need to raise the grade up in the center of it, so the water
I
still
guess
drains
work
around
with
it.
Barry on some of those things. I mean, as long as we kind of have a setback parameter for Barry to work with.
Yes, Greg?
You know, we've been talking about this for about 50 minutes now. We have we have 10 items on the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we're almost at 9:30 when other people are going to be calling in. I think it's time to continue this, we can have this discussion off the record.
I think you,
I got some
Get her
ideas.
drawn up and bring her back.
yeah,
Do we want to go to the 26th, which is only 3 weeks? And I'm gonna need the updated information next week, by the end of next week. So I don't know if
Can you
that's
do it in
enough
that much
time?
time?
Okay.
Yeah.
And right now, I think we only have 2 items on the
Yeah.
26th, so we can put some stuff on the
I'll
26th.
make a motion to continue this until May 26th, so the applicant can get some updates for us.
I'll second it.
Been moved in second. All in favor?
Dan,
Oh, Dan.
aye.
Dan, aye.
Quick point,
Dan V.
Yes,
hello?
yes, Charlotte?
While we're at it, they could, do their stormwater management plan next time they're there.
yep.
Okay.
John, aye.
Dan Mall, aye.
Paul, aye.
All right, thank you very
Carries.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you for coming prepared.
Give your names to Terry.
I'm Joe Cheney, Paul Otto with Otto Associates.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as they just stated, the next item up is Joe Cheney. It's, I get 10 acres, it's a little bit plus or minus that on Green Mountain Lake. This matter was before the board in 1999. At that hearing, the board placed an entitlement and granted 100-foot setback variances to an any lake. More or less made the property buildable. Variances expired in 3 years. So the property is transferred, so the variance for acreage and road frontage, which it's minimal, it's right at the 33 feet, and it's only there because of the Butts County Highway that has a little bit of an extended right-of-way there. And so it does have that, and since it has transferred, that portion of the variance is still valid. It's transferred. So the sale is legal. The buildability hinges on the setback, which has a 3-year time frame, which has expired. It's expired, a couple of years ago, or 10 years ago. And so now they're back with a specific house and septic plan for a new dwelling on the lot that would be at that 100-foot setback requirement. The septic system to serve it would also need a setback variance. The requirement for an Amy Lake is 150 feet, and they're requesting 100 feet for septic as well. The applicants have not attended the township. I don't believe the township had a meeting in May, did they?
No.
I need to do just a couple things here. Who all do I have on the WebEx for this item? Mark, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just want to make sure you're there.
I left a couple.
Just one moment, Mark. I do know I had some people on the WebEx, so I wanted to make sure they were there. And so, like I say, we do have house plans and everything for this particular request. But we do not have township response. We do have one neighbor, let me get my information out here, Don Schmidt, that does, he approves of the variance, and we have another, Janice Marshall, that she opposes it mainly because of the setback variance for the septic. She's worried about, drainage and failure of that system at 100 feet draining into the lake. And then Kevin Schmidt also sent indication strongly opposing the setbacks for the structure, and feels that the setback should be held. That's what we do have for township and neighbor responses for this particular one. And so I know, Mark, you're on the line, and I believe Don is with you. Don Schmidt is with you as well. What we'll want to do is, give it to the applicants first, and then we'll open it up to Mark and Don to make comments.
Okay.
All right,
All right. What do you got out there?
thank you.
You have to speak up as much as you can, because that's the mic that.
They're going to me, all right, thank you. So, yeah, essentially, this plan is almost, as far as house placement goes, almost the same as what was approved previously. The septic area the primary septic area has been moved closer to the buildings than it was previously. We're trying to do the best that we can with this property. We're trying to keep our grading so that it's as far away from that setback as possible, keep our home as far away. It's tough because it's a lot that's there. It's a beautiful lot. It can't be farmed. I guess it could be pastured, but is pasture better than building a home out there? So I guess we're kind of looking to reinstate what was looked at in 1999. We believe we're consistent with what that board had approved, and looking to go in that direction. The one thing that I didn't see on Barry's sheet, and I don't know if I sent it to you, Barry, or not, but we would like, as long as we are here, to ask for a shed location to be, and that would be up closer to the road area. And I'm guessing we're gonna have to go see the township, so maybe we will just resubmit some information to consider that next time.
Well, yeah, and we're gonna have to re-notify too, so that's something that I'd either need today or we're gonna have to continue.
Sure, I have a copy here that you could
I
have,
need
but,
building plans too.
oh, for the shed?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll discuss then, I guess, well, probably where we sit, if we've got the application in, and we're here today, and considering how we're running these meetings, we should just move along, so.
Yeah.
So that's what I had. We'll certainly answer any questions. The one other thing is that the access in there is pretty tight. The lot line is a little weird. I do have a detail on my survey, so I just want to bring that to everybody's attention, that it is an odd configuration at the front. But that's kind of an existing condition of the property and really nothing that we can.
Paul and I went last summer. I think we had emails going back and forth trying to verify, information that, yes, it actually does touch. And so we went back and forth. We included the highway department and got information that shows that, yes, it does physically touch here. Because there has been contention over whether that actually physically touches. And so we did get clarification that it does physically touch. There is 33 point about feet, I think, where it physically touches. So it is possibly your driveway in there, but it's you have to get in and turn because of how that corners right there at the right of way. So, but it's there.
Yep.
We verify that it's there.
I was thinking, I'm not sure I know we put it on our application, but when you pull into the property, how the driveway turns, it's gonna be less than 5 feet. I think there's a 5-foot setback for the edge of the driveway too.
Yeah, there is. I didn't look at that. I didn't notice it when I went through. It's one thing to have it at a corner. It's another thing to have it running, the length, any type of length. When you make a corner like that, and driveways move too. As you grade them and do them, they move. So my suggestion would be is in that area, you might want to do something that keeps it moving. Otherwise, especially out here, you might have some issues with it.
Okay.
Stakes or railings or something that, sure that when you create it, everything stays.
Cool.
That'd be my comment.
Bring her back up here.
First, Mr. Chairman, let's turn it over to the callers that we do have in. So, Mark. Are you there, Mark? Okay, it's open to the floor to you and Don.
Maybe they can give their phone number.
You're gonna have to get a little closer to the mic. That's much better. Yeah, and you're getting a lot of echo, so you're on here twice and you're getting your audio from both. You're gonna have to mute either the computer or something else, because you're better? Yeah, that is better.
I don't know.
So go ahead, if you have comments, now's the time.
You want to say anything about it? We're just going to the clip meeting. Can you mute one of their mics?
Yeah, if I mute it, it isn't gonna make a difference. They have to mute one of theirs, otherwise we're still gonna get the feedback. I've been working with that, but
you guys have to turn off.
I said we'd like them to
Here,
come
ask
to the
the floor.
township meeting.
Hey, Mark?
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead and, if you guys got comment, you need to make it now.
All I said is the supervisors would like them to come to the township meeting.
Okay. Yeah, and that's, the board is talking, they will be continuing it so that can happen.
We're on Monday's agenda.
Okay.
Okay, all right, back up here, Paul?
Well, I think I don't know how you want to handle this, but I think we should wait till the township makes their remarks. Traditionally, that's what we do. And maybe continue this till next July's meeting. I mean,
Do you want to include that shed in there?
Yeah, I'd like to, so I'll
Okay.
get the plans.
And then we'll continue it, I would suggest we continue it to July, so that you have time to get some plans drawn up and a location for the site survey, rather than rushing everything. Let's continue it to the July meeting.
17th.
Do you want to do a site inspection in the meantime, given the nature of the request, especially with that, shore impact zone types of setbacks? Do you want to do a site?
yes, I would, because I wanted to take a look at the trees. I wanted to make sure that if these are good trees, that we can work on preserving that, so.
Okay,
Okay with
do I
that?
hear a motion?
Did you want to hear from Charlotte and Dan?
Charlotte? Are you there, Charlotte?
Sorry, I had to unmute. What, you want a motion from me or what?
Well, if you have comments or a motion.
My only comment is I think the structure is too large. I think going by the 100-foot setback given in 1999, those are moot, and that the structure should be made smaller, but that we can deal with later.
Okay,
I don't want to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue this until the July 17th meeting, and we'll set a site inspection time at the end of the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Dan,
Name.
Dan V, aye.
Roll call vote.
Charlotte said aye.
Dan V, aye.
All aye.
John, aye.
Dan Mall, aye. Okay, motion will carry then.
Yep, and we'll just jump right into the next item because it's theirs.
Okay.
Terry, you have the names? Okay, yes, Mr. Chairman, the next item up is a property in Rockford Township on Dean Lake. It's currently 134 acres. It has been through a couple of rezoning hearings before. One was recently dismissed. One in 2010 was denied. The information from that hearing is in your packet. This new request is divided with the north-south property line with 71 acres to the west that would be on minimal road frontage. There is a dead end at the south end that is 20th Street. It runs through a unplatted old residential development, all lots of record. And that's where the road access or the driveway access would be for the 71 acres. The 63 acres in and of itself doesn't need a variance. It's got road frontage, it's got everything else, it's just not on the quarter line. So if the west parcel had sufficient road frontage, it's a lot line adjustment, not a variance. In this case, because of the road frontage, it is a variance. And so that is what we have on this particular one. I don't have anything further on that. The township has responded with their approval, but they would require a dedicated cul-de-sac on 20th Street to be built per township detail and specifications. We also had two neighbors that indicated their approval. I have them here, Dwayne Rolstead and Gary Brummer. That is what I have, so it's back over to the applicants.
Okay, again, any comment from you before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one's pretty straightforward. The only thing that we are kind of questioning is the township road cul-de-sac and what they're requiring. We kind of disagree with them on that is, you know, we're coming in there on a 33-foot right-of-way road that's minimally maintained, or it's maintained by the, I shouldn't say minimally maintained, wrong words. That is maintained by the township. And what we're doing here isn't going to increase the impact on that road, so it seems, you know, a fairer trade would be to dedicate the right-of-way, but not build the road. And maybe that's something we have to take up with the township, but I would like to have this board's comments on that, you know. Giving the right-of-way is one thing, but actually spending money to build a road when the 71 acres may stay exactly the same. It might be just farm field as it is. You know, the only reason we're here for a variance is because of that road that's there, if we had enough. Or we could be doing this differently, and we could be splitting off a 10-acre piece off the front and leaving the remainder. That situation would still stay the same. We feel this is a lot better use of this piece of property, just with the large wetland complex in the middle of it. It's a physical separation. It isn't very easy to go from the county road to the backside. Well, you certainly can't with any farm equipment. With maybe your four-wheel drive truck, you can, but you're not going back there with a car without some major improvements. This is up and down, so that's my comments on that, I guess, and if this board would add some comments, it may help us with the township, so.
Just so the board can have a better view, this is the beacon view of that right-of-way where that township right-of-way meets property. So the red line is selected parcel, 134 acres, and you can see where that right-of-way comes up, and that's the amount of right-of-way that's there.
The red right there, I mean, the township does own that portion, you know,
No, well, up to it.
up to it, but I'm just saying that the township
The
does own.
township right-of-way is here.
Yep, that is all township
This-
there.
This is the township right-of-way.
Okay.
This is the Cheney property right here.
I think it was like 60-some feet.
63,
Yeah, somewhere in there.
is that?
Yep. It's not quite full 66, but yeah.
Okay, back up here. I think we're on, up to you, Charlotte.
Okay, I think it's a fine plan. I don't have any problems with it. I kind of agree with the applicants. I don't understand the nexus between the township wanting a cul-de-sac and the 65-foot road. Nothing is being changed, so there doesn't really seem to be a linkage between the two. So usually I would want to defer to the township because they have road maintenance in their purview, but my feeling then is if they want a cul-de-sac, they should make the cul-de-sac themselves, if that's okay with the applicant on his property. But that's it.
Okay,
Okay.
Dan?
And I would, you know, looking at what you're asking to do and split, I understand what the applicant is saying. I mean, to be able to get the 300 feet of road frontage and only split off 10 acres, you're looking at a large swamp, wetlands. I mean, that doesn't make sense, or it just wouldn't be the right thing to do. They've got access on the 63 or 65 feet to be able to access it off of a township road. I guess I don't have an issue the way they're splitting it. It's a natural split through the wetlands. So, you know, you're not encroaching upon any of the agricultural land or what is being farmed or pastured at the time. So I guess I would concur with Charlotte. I can go along with the variance of the approach.
Dan?
I feel much like Dan and Charlotte. However, could that be, if it was to be built on or anything, then follow the township requirements, go back to that stipulation?
But like Charlotte is saying, the turnaround is there.
Yeah.
And they have
Front of the
property, or, you know, their property touches the right of way. I mean, for them to rebuild the township's turnaround, when you have 3 other residents that are using it also, then it should be a cost share. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, because they're coming off the township right away also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no issue other than that. I'd like to, you know, nobody knows the roads like the township does, they're local
Correct.
government, so it'd be nice if they would have said, I don't wanna overrule that.
Yeah.
Paul?
I do have some concern, in that one, being that 71 acres. If you did put a house there, it would almost landlock the rest of that land for future, unless there could be an easement or something. My concern is Rockford Township is an urban township. It is, right on the edge, and if any township's going to see growth and change and things like that, is some of that land. And so I have some concerns that if we did allow it to be a building site, that would landlock that whole big parcel back there. There's a lot of good things that you're saying. It preserves farmland, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of areas. But I'm just thinking ahead, if it would cause problems, and if it is there something we can do now to prevent that from happening?
May I respond?
Sure.
Yeah, and you're exactly right in what you're saying, and in frankly, my thoughts of growth and property values and rights. I always tell my clients, don't throw away value in your property. So this property, I've been involved with 2 runs at the county. And there's been runs before I was involved with this parcel. And more or less it's come down to is we end up at the township with a room full of residents that say, we don't want to see anything happen here. And it's not in the land use plan as guided to go anywhere yet.
Okay.
And the way that the township has explained and the people that are there, I don't see that at least the westerly side of this piece is anything that anybody wants to see in the land use plan anytime soon. And that's just my opinion.
No.
But we've taken a run at it and done what I thought seemed reasonable.
Well said, and the fact that it's not in the most recent land use plan, and I don't have a problem with it then. I just wanted to throw that out there. You answered my question, and so I don't have a problem with it. So.
Okay. Good to go. Do I hear,
I'll make a motion. Let's see, which one is here? Is this the new one? Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the request, variance 155.26, 155.048B, 155.048 G4, as regulated in Chapter 155, Title 15, Land Uses and Zoning of Wright County Code of Ordinance to allow a division of an existing 134-acre property that has 2 building entitlements as follows: 63-acre parcel with over 300 feet of public road frontage along Dog Avenue, County Road 14, to have 1 entitlement, and the remaining 71 acres with 65 feet of public road frontage on 20th Street to have 1 entitlement.
you go hear a second?
I'll second it.
And move,
Some discussion, Mr. Chairman?
okay?
So the board doesn't want to address the township's recommendation?
I would like to.
Yeah, I do have one more question. Thank you. Is that roundabout, can a school bus turn around there adequately? Is it designed for a school bus to be a turnaround, or is it just a Mickey Mouse turnaround that, Because I want to make sure that a school bus can go down. I live on a dead end of the road, so I know what it's about. And it has to be big enough and safe enough for a school bus. That would be, I think, a condition that I would like to put on it.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that well enough. I've been out there, but I don't know what the dimensions of it are, to be honest with you. I don't think they can do a circle loop. They
Yeah.
probably would more than likely have to pull into somebody's driveway or pull straight in and turn. I think it's a 3-point turn, probably. It's my guess, but I don't know.
See, that is one of my concerns too with that turnaround, is even the plow trucks and stuff too. They stated it there, so I kinda hate to not send
you
it back to
smile
them
about
and
it?
have them discuss it.
Can you bring that turnaround back up again, please, Barry?
Just give me just 1 second.
Okay,
Just so the board remembers, we do have a motion on the table.
yes, we do have a motion on the table, and this is part of that discussion. I look at this overhead, where that turnaround is. You have 2 directly accessing that turnaround already.
Yep.
We are allowing 1 more entitlement on 70 acres. So whether it's a 1 acre lot for a building or not, all they are is accessing. They're not asking to put 100 homes back here. They're not asking for anything other than accessing their property. And I think it's unfair of the township to make them fix or renew or make their turnaround completely new, or go onto their property and give them more turnaround. The other, basically 3 homes on that turnaround are accessing the same turnaround. And you have kids getting on there or fire, I mean, that comes down to, it's township property, the township is the road authority, they need to maintain their turnaround. Why does another landowner, because they just want a property split, have to fix a turnaround?
Now, I know the board has required past, but the ones I do recall seeing are ones where the township has extended the right-of-way
Right.
to give a parcel the road frontage that
Yes.
it needs.
Yeah,
In that case,
yes, that's
when
what I would-
the township has to acquire new so somebody can do something.
Right, but right here, all they're going to do is take their driveway right off of there, and they've got to build their own driveway, they got to maintain their own driveway. It's no different than these other 3 homes that are right there.
Yeah.
Why does, if they're going to extend, like in Clearwater Township where we had that one where they extended it, they had to build a road to get, they wanted the township to take it over.
I want to make.
Totally different.
So, are we, just to clarify things here, there's 2, there's having them pay for it, and then there's having them give them the space that they need to create, the township could create it. And I want to make sure that there's future space allotted so that the township could create that.
Well, that's-
That comes up in the future, and what happens to the property. Right now, all they're asking for is access of 65 feet to their property.
Whoever,
All they're
if somebody
asking for.
buys this and builds a home, I would hope they take into account potential to create lots there in the future, put their house in a location, so it's a road, a dedicated road to go up through it.
But right now, our variances is to give them access to their property.
Okay.
That, and that's what the motion is, and that's, it's access to their property.
I'll rescind my condition on having a roundabout put in.
Yeah, and so the motion stands.
Motion stands.
Motion stands, yeah. So, again, roll call vote, all in favor?
Dan V. Oh, okay.
Charlotte's and I?
Dan V. a nay. I'd like to have the township put some input.
Paul, yes.
John, yes.
Dan Malt, aye.
Motion carries.
Grace.
Deed restrictions still need to be done, I guess we can get that in motion, but it's.
Yeah, you need surveys.
Just get the surveys in the office.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're done.
All right.
They don't want to spend the money. Maybe they don't have it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
The next item up is Matt Meyer. Please give your names to Terry, please.
Matt Meyer. This is Renee, my wife.
Renee Meyer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property is a 25,298 square foot lot on Limestone Lake. The proposal is to add a 10 by 32 covered area of an existing deck lakeside, and then also a 16 by 32 one-story addition roadside. The proposed additions would reduce the lake setback from 53.9 feet to 44.5 feet. Side setbacks would also be reduced on both sides to 7.4 and 7.6 feet. The proposal would include the installation of a new septic system kind of in the back portion of the property, just north of the driveway. I do have the survey of the property, the septic design, the proposed building plans of the additions, elevation drawings in the previous one, the low-level floor plan, main level floor plan. It is a one-story structure, and then pictures of the existing site. We did receive a response from the township. They did approve the additions as was presented to them. The only condition is that because it is close to the property line, water issues from the roof need to be addressed. That was their only notation in their approval. We'll turn it over to the applicants if you have anything more to add.
Hello, everyone. When you said I don't know the proper terms, that the side variances, or they would be reduced?
The cabin's at an angle, so adding
Yeah.
out the front gets closer on this side, adding on the back gets closer on
Oh, I see, okay, I got you. Yep, gotcha, okay.
They're measured to the closest point.
Yep,
So
makes sense.
you're going both ways with the angle.
Yep.
It's closer on.
Yep.
Do we have anyone on the WebEx that has comments for this one? All right, well, we'll turn it over to the board then.
Okay, Charlotte was just up. Thank you.
I guess there's a lot of challenges with what you're looking at trying to do. As far as getting closer to the lake, I have a hard time doing that. I mean, we don't really like getting closer to the lake or granting variances getting closer. When you start looking at 7 feet from the side yard setbacks, you know, from the sides, that barely leaves much room to get around with anything. I know it looks, from the overheads, it looks like you're in kind of a tight area, but if we can configure the house in a different direction or somehow make it so we can get a little bit more compliance or get further distances from the side yard setbacks, 7 feet is close, you know, it makes it very challenging. Getting closer to the lake is just not something that I guess I'm willing to go along with.
Did we look at the overhead of the footprint on the side variances? I'm curious how we do that. I mean, open to ideas.
Yeah.
It just, we're sitting on this 50-foot. Sure.
What I'm going to do is use this because I should have made a cutout version survey to put on here, but I didn't. So I'll put the survey up on the camera so you can get a more zoomed in view of that location.
Okay.
So this is more of a zoomed in view. I hope nobody is prone to seizures.
That's good. Yeah, and, okay, so on going closer to the lake, that was admittedly more of an afterthought because of the fact that we've got the existing deck there, and we thought, well, we don't really have to have that deck, we don't use it that much because of the fact that we've got decking down below and we've got a gazebo there, so that admittedly was more of an afterthought of enclosing that, so gonna pursue that if that's an issue.
Potentially you could take that off.
Yeah. So just to cover off on that, now, this is the challenge though, when saying how not to have this is 7.4. You know, I don't quite know how you do that structurally, because we're trying to leave the I don't know if, how would we do that?
I guess I'm not a designer, you know, you tuck it in or something, just do a little jog back there, because then that way your addition wouldn't be getting any closer than what you already are. I mean, I'm not a building designer.
No, I understand.
But, you know, but if it's somehow you can at least maintain with what you're at and not be getting any closer.
If I remember, it, we had one recently on Lake Mary down in Victor Township where that was a lakeside thing and there was cantilevers and stuff, and that's what they did is instead of going even with that wall, they stepped it back a couple of feet
Yeah.
and then extended it a little bit more, made it a little bit longer so that
Got their footage.
8.3 is maintained, so you extend it back to where it doesn't get close to that existing 8.3.
Yeah.
We did see that, I have seen that.
But
There
you
again, we don't
know,
design it for you, but that
Right,
is
no,
one way to
but I mean-
accomplish it.
How are we looking for impervious? Good on that?
Oh, fine, the lot is very large, very limited structure.
Go that way?
The driveway is kind of a little bit shared, and it doesn't go all the way to the structure. So
Sure.
we are fine on it.
I guess that's what I have to start with.
For me, encroaching the lake is a tough one. There's an existing deck there now, and we're not counting that as a footprint, though? And does that deck need any, like, new footings or anything to accommodate a porch if it were to be added on that back?
Well, that's kind of one of the things. When I was on site, it does appear that it's attached. And, you know, looking back at historic aerials, it's not an old deck.
Okay,
And so we don't have any permit records for it, so, I mean, in technical terms, it was never permitted.
okay.
So, probably should have been, because it does look like it's actually physically attached to a ledger on the house.
Okay. So that, yeah,
I don't know what, we don't know what it has because it was never permitted.
then,
Yeah, there's, like I say, looking through the historical areas, there's nothing added in the last 15 years that,
wasn't
you
there.
know, wasn't there as far as we can tell from the area.
And you're okay with eliminating that request about the back?
Well, I think so. That's a big stumbling block.
Okay. Otherwise, you got more water issues and stuff too, the runoff and stuff. Like Dan said, that encroaching on a lot line, I think you could cut that back and go out then, would be square that off 4 feet or whatever off that corner and go out an extra 2 feet, would be.
So would the goal, if I could ask this, would the goal be to not get any closer than what the?
That would be my,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to-
I thought. And then have a water control, because you're gonna have more roof, make sure.
Yep.
Charlotte will probably have some good information on that, so that would be me.
Paul?
Yeah, basically, same thing. Not in favor of the 10 by 32 porch, season. Sounds like you're gonna nix that. Okay, so we won't even go there. So if you're gonna leave that out, I'm fine. And I just don't wanna see encroachment, any closer than it's already existing, which it sounds like you're already doing. And I guess that only leaves the last thing, and that is, because you're so close, you're in the shore impact zone, and we have increased roof surfaces, that we have a good, sound stormwater management plan in place so that we can manage, at least a 1 inch or, I don't know what waterfall.
24,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
usually we do a one or a 1.5 over 24 hours, depending on
Okay.
the site.
I'd want to see that, plan, and I'd want to make sure it's implemented. So that's my thoughts. If you can do that, great.
Charlotte?
Ditto to everything that Paul said.
She said ditto to everything that Paul
Oh.
said. So she agrees with some stormwater management plan due to the setbacks that are on site.
So then we'd,
No closer encroachment, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Dan?
so then we'd be looking at a continuance. How long do you think you can get this stuff down on paper in 3 weeks or a week to, Barry, you gotta have it in a week?
I'm gonna have it in a week, because we're gonna have to do, the notifications go on the paper, we gotta make sure there's notifications. Staff report goes out the following week, so I can do the week before I have that preliminary staff report out. The only thing I would kind of question in this particular case is, you know, if the board is saying, okay, no to the porch, no to further encroachment, the only, and definitely stormwater management, the only thing left is the actual square footage of the backside addition. So if the board wants to set parameters on a square footage for that, because what I don't want to happen is the board say, well, just no further encroachment, and all of a sudden we get a backward addition that's double the size. You know, because then I'm going to say, well, that's not what the board had looked at. But if the board says, you know, within, you know, 100 square feet of what was proposed or something similar to that, we can just get them out of here. Unless the board wants to see something else.
I think that suffices me.
I'd like to give them some time. You want to go back to the drawing board, you want to give it some thought, and I don't want to push you to decide and confine you to a certain amount of space here and now. So I would suggest, yeah, come back with a plan.
Can you do it in a week, or would you rather have it pushed out to July?
Rather get started.
Yeah.
It'd be June 26th or July 17th.
But I would just need the plans.
Within a week, you know, how much more you're gonna addition or what you're gonna do there in the
That's
back.
my only problem is
Right.
I need the plans and time to do a review of them.
And so you're saying the plans are the modification to the design and the plan for the stormwater management?
I think the stormwater management can be handled at the permitting, at the
Right.
permitting process.
Okay.
So
Charlie,
mainly
are
it's
you
the
okay with
design
that?
Yeah.
of the plan, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can get that done in a week.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna do it
It's not gonna be anything,
drastic.
No, it's not
should
drastic.
be pretty
you know,
straightforward.
And honestly, as far as getting the plans drawn, if you were just to provide some floor plans, I don't necessarily need the elevation drawings unless the roof or something is going to be significantly changed. And if you make some more significant changes, then I would want to see some elevation drawings. But if you're just adjusting that floor plan to make it, pull it in and make it a little longer, I wouldn't need the elevation drawings.
Okay.
And so that should make it easier for the architect to,
Yeah.
who's doing your drawings.
That would be something I'd like to hand out there too. If you would think you're not gonna go massively bigger and a couple hundred square feet would suffice you, I'd be okay with that, ending that now and okaying it myself.
Yeah, we're not
The only
gonna,
thing is when they get home and they think,
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Paul, and all of a sudden, boy,
We've had that before.
you know, if we're gonna take this, if we're gonna take this front off, let's add another, you know, little bit more, and then you get into where Barry gets an issue. Let them go home, think about it for a couple of days, make those changes, and be back in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
if that's all right.
Wanna
Yeah,
do
I
what
think
you
so,
want.
because
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue this item until the June 26th meeting. Give the applicants time to rework some things.
I'll second that.
Plans due next Friday.
Plans due in a week.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Charlotte?
Aye. Aye.
Dan, V, I.
Paul, aye.
John, I.
Dan Mall, aye. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
appreciate it.
Good. All right, next item up is Gregory and Lori Krantz. Could you name Terry, please?
Greg Krantz.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property is a 4.2 acre lot on the back side of some lakeshore lots on French Lake, so it's not actually a physical lakeshore lot. There have been, the 4.2 acres are due to a couple of lot line adjustments that were done, adding some acreage to the parcel, one in 74 and another one in 1980. The request before the board is to replace the existing 1,130 square foot, one-level home with a partial basement and 528 square foot detached garage that are 11 feet from the rear property line at the closest point, 9.7 feet from the road right-of-way at the closest point, and replace those with a new 3,496 square foot, 1.5-story dwelling and attached garage that will be 11 feet from the rear line, so at the same setback. 6.7 feet from the road right-of-way at the closest point. Based on the survey, that 6.4 feet will be to the attached garage in that southwest corner. That's where the closest point will be. There's an area of porch and a screen porch and another open porch on the kind of almost the straight, not straight east side, but the other kind of corner opposite of that, would be a further encroachment over what is there, but it's not closer than what that 6.7 feet is. It's difficult on these to go around the structure. You know, every corner is a little bit different. We usually like to just notify to the closest point. And so that's what we did here. I do have the plans for the new structure, elevation drawings, floor plan for both the main and upper level cross section, and then pictures of the existing structure that is in place. We did receive approval from the township. They didn't have any concerns. They did approve it, and then we did get responses from Tim and Desiree Fleming and Scott Lepowski, and they both have no issues with the. So, do you have anything to add there, Greg?
Basically, we're building the wife's dream home, is what we're doing, and, you know, it's been something we've been working on for a few years, and our plan got moved up just based on how things have been going through the last couple of years in my job and her job, so it's something we want to do, and just have that forever home there in that corner of French Lake.
Okay. Anything else from you, Barry?
Just one moment, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone on the call, on the WebEx meeting that has comment for the Krantz request? Okay, I didn't get any responses, so I'll be turning it back over to the board.
Okay, Dan, where do you?
All right. Well, looking at it, and then talking today with a few of the other things, at 6.7 feet, really is tough for me on that corner. There's a way to adjust it away from the lot line. I would be in favor of that. I just think 6.7, especially we didn't allow the.
If I could make a comment, I actually shortened the garage 6 feet to get that 6.7. And if you see where the roadway is, the travel roadway is,
Yeah.
compared to where the plotted roadway is,
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, in my mind, there's any issue because we're only we're less than 4 feet from that at this point. So again, I did make an initial concession before we even thought of the variance, just kind of looking at how that was all laid in after the survey came out.
I'm still though of the assumption that that's just pushing it to the lot line, and we have looked at others and said, no, you can't do that.
And I would love to push the house forward, but the existing septic is there, and that's all good, and I don't want to incur the expense of replacing that septic at, you know, right around $20,000, so.
Sure.
That's kind of why we're at with how we want the house designed, to have that attached garage, which is a big feature.
Yeah, and I always hate to cut a garage down, but it is.
The most you would gain is 2 feet. To cut it down to be able to fit my vehicles in there, so. Because right now we're sitting at 24 by 30 on the garage. And I really don't want to cut in and lose a stall of that garage either. I think it would actually make the entire project look weird.
Yeah.
If I did cut that garage in.
So with that 6.7 feet, it ends up being about 50 travel center.
Yeah.
Yeah, the road really benefits, the way the road's laid out there, benefits your property a lot, for your driveway and everything else. I guess I'm uncomfortable doing the 6.7, but that's just me, whatever the rest of the board says.
Okay.
I think it's a couple feet off myself. It's back to, I'd like to see 10 feet on a lot line, because that's what everybody else has to abide by. Or that's a minimum. What is the setback, 15?
Setback for a primary structure
15.
from a property line is 15 feet.
Yeah, and we're going 6.7.
And for road right-of-ways, the ordinance does have some administrative reductions that we can do, but in that it does say, but no closer than 20 feet right-of-way. So on a normal road right-of-way, I know we have some old lakeshore areas where, you know, all the garages are 4 or 5 feet from the edge of the right-of-way. If somebody in there doesn't have one, they want to build one, we take the average 300 feet in either direction. If it's less than 65 feet, we can be the average,
Okay.
but no closer than 20 feet to the right-of-way. That is how it's specified in the ordinance.
And what's he asking for to the right of way again?
6.7.
6.7 to the right of way, yeah.
And right now I'm at 9, just over 9 feet on my existing garage.
I guess that's my concern, is if that could be lessened to get it away from the right of way. Just because I know we've got other people with really small lots and didn't want that big of a garage to not have.
Yeah, about 9.5. That existing.
But for consistency, I'm done, I guess.
Okay, Paul?
I had, some of the originally I had the same concerns, but when I really looked at it, it is from the edge of the right of way, so that it gives us more room for future utility. And when I looked at the hedgerow that follows that road, he's really not going beyond what's kind of the existing vegetation and stuff, so it kind of switched me over to say, I'm fine with it, you know, so.
Charlotte?
Yeah, this may have already been said, but what is the difference between the platted right of way and the edge of the traveled road?
It's a bit of a distance here.
That's what it looked like on the survey. It looks like the 6.7 is kind of a red herring.
The distance from the that corner of the garage to the traveled center line is about 52.5 feet.
Right, but to the edge of the traveled road, not the center line of the traveled road.
Oh, to the edge, it's about, from the garage or from the property line?
From the garage.
44 feet, 43 feet.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
The only thing I will mention here is that, you know, if you look at where those garage doors are located, to have any type of apron out the front, if you were to come straight parallel with the garage and go west, so you were gonna do an apron out the garage 24 feet,
Yeah.
about 12 feet of that apron would be in the township right of way. So if you do a 24-foot concrete apron that spans the width of that garage, 12 feet of the apron is going to be within the right of way.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's really hugging that line right there, if it's even lined up with the driveway.
The doors face kind of south-southwest. So on this plan, what I was measuring was from, you know, here, that's 12 feet.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to extend the line that's 12 feet, if you do a 24-foot apron, you've got another 12 feet, your apron's going to be out here.
Yeah, you park a car there, it's gonna be hanging over the,
It's going to be hanging out into the right of way.
yeah.
Right now, where we park our cars hangs out in the right of way. So, essentially, we're not changing much at all, just based on where we're
The
parking.
thing is, the road isn't gonna move anywhere. The traffic surface.
Not likely. Okay, who's up?
So I don't see it as a safety issue.
Okay.
Okay, Dan?
I'm also with Dan on that portion. I don't want to come any closer. I mean, if we can maintain the 9.7 or the 10 feet where we're existing already,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I mean, can't remember that. I guess I want to maintain what we have. You know, however you can design it or do it or change it. I mean, I understand you're already probably in the right of way and stuff, but I guess I'm just not willing to move it closer to the right of way, is where my challenges come from.
Okay. Good to go?
Oh, it's done.
Okay,
Yes.
hear a motion?
Well, I guess, you have any thoughts, Greg, on,
You know, just based on where we're trying to put it, you know, we're trying to actually incorporate it, get an attached garage and build this thing within the parameters. Regardless if I shorten my garage to 22-foot deep like I already have at this point, I don't think we'll meet your request of getting to the 10 feet by moving that edge back. We can't move the house forward anymore because of the septic system. We'd like to keep the same size just based on how we've put the design together. And I know we don't want to go any further towards the northwest lot line there, based on we're already 4 feet too close based on the setbacks. So, you know, my hope was to get it set up the way it is again, because we do have a foliage line there. There's a line of trees that kind of runs through that way anyway. That is prior to the road. Obviously, the driveway's there now, taking up a lot of what the consideration would be with a pad in front. So, you know, I don't see the issue with it on my end, just because how likely the road is to be moved in the future. But my preference would be to leave it the same and run it that way, just because the design process and trying to get stuff run through is, well, as you guys know, if you've done a house, there's a lot of work to it, and you know, we're trying to be within that reason. But I do understand the concerns between the Dans.
yeah.
But again, we're 2 feet, 2.3 feet difference on that 9 feet. That we're too close already, or that we've got that garage built at already.
See, we're supposed to judge everything on a hardship basis.
Right.
And I don't see
And you don't see the hardship based on having, you know, if I move everything the way I want it, and try and keep the same structure that we want to build. Again, we're trying to do the right thing with
I think
it.
you kind of hit on it right there. It's a structure you want to build. So what they have to look at is you're doing a substantial increase and pushing everything further past the limits. So, you know, there's been discussion about, well, what can we do? There's no really other way to do it. Oh, there's a number of ways to do it. You shorten the amount of house and pull the house back, make the house a little smaller. You take off one of the stalls or reduce the width of one of the stalls to a point where it moves it back 2 feet. So, you know, part of my job here is to, well, based on what the board says, how's it possible? Well, I've done enough of these. My job isn't to design homes, but when it comes to widths and lengths, I see all types of stuff done to accommodate these type of discussion the board had. Now, I will say this, I didn't hear a definite stance by all 5 board members, and so, you know, unless we get that, and the next step is to make a motion, and either it passes or fails. And then if it goes one way or the other, then another motion is made, and we continue. You know, or, you know, does the board want to see it? You know, it seems like there's a split in the board. Do you want to do a site inspection? Do you want to see it? You know, those are all things that haven't been discussed yet. So I'm just throwing those things out there for the board's consideration. And we need to move and do what we want to do.
I guess I don't necessarily need a site inspection. If he can maintain the setbacks to where they're at now within them, and I agree. I mean, with Dan, I don't view any hardship here other than I want a big house, and that's fine. I got nothing against anybody wanting a larger house, nothing, but it's, you only own so much land or property, and we have to try to make it fit. We're already, you know, at 9.7 is what our paperwork says, so either you meet 9.7 or the 10 and keep it for me, where it's at,
Same here.
you know.
Makes
I
it
mean, I just
easier
don't
to
see a
be
hardship because of the lot or anything like that, because you can still fit a house on it. So,
So if I can bring it up and design it at the variance not to be past that 9.7, there wouldn't be an issue?
you're staying within the parameters of what you already are in,
Yeah, it'd be much more favorable.
yeah.
Okay.
And there again, like I say, there is a little bit of a reduction in the setback on the east side of the new house, but this is still the closest point.
Right.
And if you basically run a line at that, 9.7 feet around the house, it's still gonna be back farther than that 9.7. So
Yep.
is the board, are you okay with that one? It's a further encroachment over what's there, certainly,
Yeah.
but it's not closer than what
Has already
that
been,
detached garage is.
has already allowed or
Just
there.
want to make sure,
Yeah.
because, I mean, the
That
comment was,
9.7 would be key.
within the bounds of what's there, well, in that area, it's getting a little bit bigger, encroaching a little bit more.
Yeah.
Still farther back than what's over here, but I just wanted to make sure you weren't talking about a
Yep.
narrowing of that as well.
I'd be okay with
Not-
that.
Which is, looking for clarification.
Okay,
So I
So
guess,
what does the board want to do, or what does the applicant
what
want
does
to
the
do?
applicant want to do? Do you want to,
Well, number one, I'd like to see if it would pass as done, and if not, I would agree to the terms of the 9.7 and to use that variance as the closest point to the line.
okay?
So if I made a motion to approve it based on a 9.7, would I just put that into that motion?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
and then if 3 members approve that, then
Yeah.
that means that the 6.7 wouldn't pass.
Right.
So you can make a motion. If you want to make that motion, then it's up to the board members to agree with your motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion of the land use zonage of Wright County Code of Ordinance to allow the replacement of an existing 1136 square foot one level home with a partial basement, 528, well, that might all change though.
No,
Just
well,
squeeze it in.
yeah, you don't have to reference the existing structures. You would just start it from a point,
Okay,
Where I could,
a new, a new structure and just list the setbacks, because they're again, the square
Okay.
footage, I would put not to exceed that square footage. Yeah,
Okay.
but that's just my recommendation.
we'll move, not to exceed the 11,336,
No, that's
wait, 1,136 square feet of one level home with a partial basement of 528 square feet. A detached garage that are 11 feet from the rear property line and 9.7 feet from the road right away. And that's not to approach that.
You can continue it now with a new structure not to exceed 3,000. You want me to help you out here, Dan?
Yes, I do,
Okay,
thank
so
you.
based on what I'm hearing, I'll framework a.
I'll mumble it
motion for
through
you.
though, otherwise.
So the board's motion would be to approve a new dwelling, 1.5 story, not to exceed 3,496 square feet. As mentioned, 1.5 story, and that all includes the attached garage. It would be 11 feet from the rear property line and 9.7 feet from the road right of way at the closest point, based on the plans submitted except for that closest setback.
Thank you, Barry. That's exactly what I was saying.
You want to make that a motion?
I make that a motion.
And I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
One quick question, it's slightly, did I read where it straddles 2 parcels? And how does that work if you have something like that?
Based on size, the properties can't be separated, and so there's any number of reasons why they can or can't
Okay.
be combined. In this case, the property to the furthest one closest to the lake to the east is a platted lot.
Okay.
It is old lot of record, created as Martha's Beach second, I think it is.
yeah.
The other 2 are meets and bounds lots, which means there's physical descriptions of them that are different than a plat. The auditor treasurer does not combine those, so they can't combine them all in one tax ID. From a state statutory standpoint and based on the history of the board, none of these properties can be separated, so we act as if the property lines don't exist.
Okay, just curious.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote, all in favor?
Dan V, aye?
Aye.
Charlotte was aye.
Paul, no.
John, yes.
Dan Mal, aye.
The motion carried. So, Greg, you would just need, at the time you apply for the permits, you would need to have those plans redrawn so that
Yep.
it meets that 9.7 feet.
All right.
Okay. Are we ready? Okay. Yes, Mr. Chairman, it seems like the next item, Gary and Lonnie Carlson, they're not here at the moment, so I think we should move that to the agenda.
Okay.
The next item after that is John and Angie Bernardi. They're at the table. Please give your names to Terry, please.
I'm Angie Bernardi.
John Bernardi.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, what we have, I gotta get to it, just have to skip over somebody, is a request for a lot line adjustment to add property out of the Keene Farm. The property size is about 9/10 of an acre. And it would service as the Bernardi's back lot, however, they're about 300 feet across two roads in an outlot from the proposed back lot. So they're not typically in these, as we can see up the street, most of these are done with lots that are directly across. This one's a little bit different where they're not directly across the street from the proposed back lot. I really don't have a whole lot more to add. The township did submit their approval of it. Yeah, they did approve the back lot of approximately 0.85 acres. That was based on the original plan that was submitted, and it wasn't measured kind of to the property line edge. And then we did also get two neighbor comments from Susan Cornelius and Gary Thompson. Both of them have brought up concerns about the servicing of the lakeshore lot that's not directly behind, indicating that they feel it would cut off the ability for a lot or two in there to get back lot for sewer at some point if needed. And also had mentioned an existing, the topography of the area making it difficult to access those lots. There's a 10 or 12 foot incline from the road up into the lot, and so there is a significant bit of topography there. I didn't include this. I just got those comments, and so I'll throw it up on Beacon so that the board can see kind of the topography of that area, at least as far as what Beacon has for our mapping system. So that would be, in this general area, the proposed lot, I'm on my right. The proposed lot would start roughly in this area here, right about this row of trees. So the access, the farther down you get, gets a little bit steeper. So I know one of the comments was, well, this would be a area to put a road in behind, but that's, changing the road and doing everything else, that isn't part of this particular request. But the comment received was that it's something that could be, should be considered by the board. That is what I have. So, if you guys have anything more to add, now's the time.
I guess I really don't think we do. I guess we've had a couple contractors out just to take a look at it and putting the driveway in off from 80th Street there like the rest of them did. And I don't know that the property is that much more higher there than it is the adjacent lot down. And they've got driveways in there. They seem to have put them in without any problems.
Actually, the person that we had look at it was the person that built Drugamillers next to Navertel's. So he's the one that we wanted a building, if we build one, if we get the land and build it, would be like that one. So he's the one that looked at it, and it is really high right to the very furthest right, but it's not so high in the middle of that property where he thought there would be a perfect way to build a road up in there. So we've kind of looked at that because we wanted to make sure if we were able to get it, we've kind of looked at all issues.
And I guess as far as the people being adjacent to it and never putting septic systems over there, they've both got 2 roads and a swamp to go through, and our understanding is we have talked to them, and there's great plenty of land where they're at to redo their septic if they ever needed to.
I guess to add to that, we have talked to, and that's probably more up to the county, but the 2 people, Ralph Peterson and Rich Myers, which is right, Rich's is at the very right of that. He said they're not interested in buying any property, or if they don't care. Thompson's, that's why we left some space between there, so 2 lots could be there. We tried to kind of figure out, not knowing how much land you guys need for a lot, but going by Navertels and Drugamiller's, we tried to have the gentleman, the contractor that did it, help us kind of leave 2 lots for those people. And then that's why we took that furthest piece, and it is lower, but up on the top, that's why we took a little bit like that 0.9, because up on the top, kind of, I think where that proposed point goes is where we would possibly put the building. So we try to kind of look at all angles, because right at the very right, it is steep, but we wouldn't do a driveway there, we'd go down further.
All we got.
Okay, Paul?
I don't think the proposed backlot fits the goals and reasons why we create these backlots, you know. We create these with the first primary goal is a septic system. And then the accessory buildings are an option, a bonus, you might say, if there's room for it. And since we're not going to be using this as for future septic use, I think we're inviting problems in the future by setting this precedent, by creating these backlots that aren't intended for future septic uses. So I can't go along with the request as submitted. So.
Charlotte, you're up.
I agree with Paul to a large extent. However, if other people think the backlot is okay, I'd rather see it downsized greatly so that it's only capable of holding an 800 square foot shed, as mentioned in the staff report. I worry in a 40,000 square foot piece that at some point somebody will try to make this a residential lot, and it really should not be a residential lot. That's playing games with ag land. And if the backlot were to be made considerably smaller, that would leave the potential for a backlot for just about every 4 lot there is, depending on how they do it. But in general, I'm not in favor of separating the backlot and the shoreland lot, just like Paul.
Okay, Ben?
Barry, can you give it some clarification? This is still owned by the Keens,
Yes.
I would assume. Now, could the Keens split that property off with, no building entitlements or anything like that, and have it as a standalone piece of property to sell?
Now, as I go through this board, the ordinance does not provide for the separation of unbuildable lots. The only thing the ordinance permits is separation of lots with entitlements. That's why all these come to this board, is because the ordinance does not have a specific allowance for it. It's done under the guise of the board's authority to alter the lines of existing lots of record. That's how we get to it. It's a bit of a stretch because it's is it a use variance? No, but yes, we've always felt that backlots that service small lakeshore lots are a benefit, so we don't look at them as a use variance because of that. And there's that direct tie into the, we require the administrative orders to tie them into the properties across the street. Yes, that's about where I can put that, so, no, the Keens couldn't just sell off any
wonder-
size of lot without going through this board, it's not a permit.
Without, okay. I guess part of my other question would be for the applicants, what is the use for the building? Is it strictly for personal storage? Do you run a cement business? Do you run electrical business? I mean, is this something where it's going to turn into a business getting run out of that shed because you don't have room down by the lake?
No, just personal storage. We're just all out of, approached Barry a couple of years ago about possibly we were gonna do a small addition on the home, and there's kind of landlocked there. Just no room to build anything, and possibly down the road with my retirement years coming up, I'd just like to have a building or a garage I can do something in, or, some woodworking or whatever. So, and just looking for some place to build it.
Right.
So,
I guess I look at it this way, and I hear what Charlotte and Paul you're saying. I totally agree with you that this isn't something we normally create. But looking at the view and what we were given, it looks like it's wetlands behind your property.
correct.
So there is no opportunity there for backlots. I mean, we can't put a sewer in back there on any of them. Does not appear to me like there's any buildable area in any of that. And I
A
know,
little bit on that far east side along that kind of connecting road.
but
That's about it.
that would connect to some of the other lots that are already there. And that would create a real back lot, like the proper type of a back lot.
And that's where all that's owned, actually.
Yeah. So I struggle with it. I'll be honest with you. I do struggle with it, but I also look at it, there's a hardship here. There's not an opportunity for them to have a back lot because, I mean, it is open land behind them. But the hardship in my mind is there's not an opportunity for them to try to get something back behind. And if everybody's got compliant sewers, I guess I can't answer that question, but I have a hard time with it because it does achieve what a backlot does. I mean, to put a shed on it, keep things off the road right away, to put their cars in, otherwise people tend to stack those things up on their property along the lake. So I don't know which way I would go at this moment yet, but that is some of my thoughts on the project.
Can I just make a comment? I don't know if this matters, but I did contact Dean Flaggeri just to see if there was how that would work for people to use a septic, and he said that you would not be able to use that for a septic because of that reason. It's the slough is there.
Yeah, but behind your property. Correct.
And even on the other side of the road, because you'd have to go through the slough, is what he said, it would not work.
Oh, for us to go all the way over there.
Even those people right
Right.
there couldn't
Okay.
because of the slough is there, so that's kind of, we tried to look into everything, and he came out and took a look at it, and, because we were concerned if we had an issue with our septic, what we would do, so we kind of were just trying to cross our T's, dot our I's, and so I just thought I'd mention we did look into that as well.
For me, I guess I'd like to ask Barry, how many times has this board allowed that when they're not adjourning or touching properties? Because for your utilities and all that stuff, you'd have to get easements to run anything through there, right?
Well, you just have to do utilities that are on something different. So in a case like this, we'd almost have to, the utility companies are going to require a separate address. So we're going to have to address it separately, which adds another.
If you ran your
complexity
sewer
to it
there.
in that now it's got its own address. Well, why can't I sell it separately? Or why can't I do this? Or why can't they, so from our standpoint, it brings up more questions.
Yep. And it does create an issue if, with mortgages, they lose a house, they still own that, vice versa. I mean, it does create issues. And like I said,
I don't know
it's a challenge here.
do utilities on something like that. I guess I'd be willing to do a site, go there and see how steep that is and everything, and what some of the options would be for you.
I just think we're setting a bad precedent here, because, number one, we have no control over that lot, what's gonna be on it in the future. It could end up being, not you, but, you know, the next guy. And then how do we determine distance? We're setting really a precedent. This is the first time I've seen this before, so. Guy down the street says, I want a back lot, but mine's a mile away, or mine's a half mile away. And solves the same thing that you're trying to accomplish here, you know, get stuff, have a little space, you know, and put the motor home or whatever. That's great, but where do we draw the line now? And all of a sudden, the nephew, he's got a couple cars he needs to store, you know? And then, you know, it creates a problem, I think, in the future for us. And traditionally, like I said before, septic systems were that primary purpose, and everything else was a bonus. And we're not able to make that connection, you know, with the septic system. So, I just want to reiterate that.
The last one, kind of somewhat like, not even directly like this, I can recall. I don't think any of the seated, no, none of the seated. 2009, 2010. It was a 140-acre farm. He wanted to break off 10 acres so that somebody that lived 4 miles away could have a spot to raise a garden. And the board at that time said no. That's the only, I mean, that's a lot different than this, but you would ask, you know, as far as you know, well, that's the one I can think of that I know of where it was a break off with no entitlement, with nothing to be attached to around it. That was just a example, but there again, much different than this. I think, but that is the only one I can think of. Other one where we were asked for one that wasn't kind of that directly across the street.
Otherwise, could the owner of the property, now I forget the name, could they build a shed there and lease it to them? I mean, is that doable, or is that something?
It's agricultural property. They can build accessory buildings.
Oh.
I mean, they got acres there. I mean, they could build a 10,000 square foot pole barn there if they wanted, as long as it's personal storage. So if they were to lease it to somebody, it would have to be one person.
Okay.
One person only, and it's for their personal stuff.
I was just curious.
They couldn't do that in an operated mini store.
No.
You know, type of thing where they're leasing spots within the building. Then that's a business use that.
But they could build a small shed and lease it to them.
Okay. Everybody commented here?
I guess I'd like to find finding of denial based on what I've heard from Paul and Charlotte.
Mr.
Or
Wright, well,
dismiss.
the applicants have the ability,
Dismiss.
if it sounds like the board isn't willing to, accept the request. So the applicants have the option of either requesting denial of the lot line adjustment or withdrawing the request, in which case it doesn't get approved, you're just saying. So it appears to be the two options that the board is given.
Can you, do you get it?
Not really.
Okay, sorry.
So if you want, the board can make a decision right now, and that decision is either gonna be a denial on the spot, or it might get continued for denial. Or you can say, you know what, we just wanna forget it, we don't want a decision, and then in which case you would request to just withdraw the application, you sign a form, and everyone goes on.
I guess I'd like to have a decision on it.
You mean then it's all done with?
No,
Oh.
no.
Is there any way someone can come out and just kind of take a look at it? And my question is,
If they deny it, it's done. Your only option then is to sue the board.
oh,
Yeah.
so we're done, I guess. Is there, can you put septics back there? Like even if we took a smaller piece of land and just,
The only way to know is through, have somebody go out and get the information and prove. I don't know.
like, because you can't go through.
I know when Druckenmiller's did theirs and Navratil's did theirs, they provided that information. They have sewer designs that they protect on the back ends of their two properties. So they had soil borings, they had designs done. They have space that's set aside for their sewers.
So Barry, maybe what you want to do is to continue this for a month or two, so you can go do that, get all the drawings, and show that you're going to put your sewer back there, and that it's possible, and you'll be putting your sewer back there. Or otherwise, you're probably better off just to ask for dismissal, because then nothing is held against you, or there's no record that saying you've been denied.
Because I don't think we can put a sewer from what Plegary said. It's just more that we wanted to have a storage shed, and we didn't think anybody else could use that for a septic system because of that slough there, is what he said. So we just thought it was land that could be used, because it can't be used for septic, I guess. So even if we took something smaller, you're all saying no, it's done.
Yeah.
Because of the distance from the lake shore.
If they're, right across from each other, it wouldn't be an issue for me.
So it's, as of right now, I mean, council. Greg,
Yes, Barry.
would the denial of a lot line adjustment require findings?
What would you end up approving here?
Well, they're not. They're not going to approve, and so would a denial need to be continued for findings?
Yeah, any denial has to be continued for findings.
So the two options of the board will either make a motion to continue it to the next meeting for the county's council to prepare findings for denial, or you could dismiss and then it pretty much just withdraw the application.
Yes, it's just done.
Yeah.
We're not going to sue anybody,
Right. No.
unfortunately.
So there's the board.
Okay.
So who's going to make the motion?
Motion to dismiss.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to dismiss
Okay.
on the applicant's
Okay, it's been moved, seconded.
request.
Yeah. Motion is dismiss at the applicant's request without prejudice.
Yep,
Right.
without prejudice.
Okay.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Dan V, aye.
Paul, aye.
John, aye.
Dan Mall, aye.
Charlotte?
Charlotte, aye.
Barry, we have a form in the office there?
Yes, Terry has the form.
Okay, I can't see Barry there, so I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, there's just a form that you'll sign, Terry has it
Okay.
over there.
Very good.
Okay, just one second, Greg, I gotta open all this up. So the next item, Mr. Chairman, is Greg Roizen. He's requesting a 26 by 32 detached garage, 20 feet from the edge of the platted right-of-way, 53 feet from the center line of the platted right-of-way. The lot's 24,286 square feet. Let me get my stuff up here. This was before the board actually in 2013. It included a 24 by 26 garage with a breezeway that attached it to the house. at 21 feet from the right-of-way. So this garage is bigger, but they're taking away the connection. And so it's no longer connected to the house. We do have a survey with a drawn-in depiction of where the structure would be. This is where the kind of an elevation drawing, there is some elevation on this site, and that's kind of what's driving this location. Is one, it's where the parking area is now. Two, you know, the septic takes up a good share of the front of the two lots. So if you can see in that survey, the septic takes up pretty much everything south of where the parking area is. And so in order to get around, the only other place for a garage is to get around, make it more or less parallel with the house, and then there's a 100-foot lake setback on Fish Lake, so the house is, I believe, 100 something, just over 100 feet, so there isn't a whole lot of room once you get out of those setbacks. And it is a standard garage, standard pitch, standard sizes, and then I do have a picture of kind of the location on where the garage would be. We did receive township approval, and I did not get any other feedback. So I'm going to turn it over to the applicant. Greg, do you have anything more to add?
No, just that, the only problem I had was the wires above the garage, and I talked to the engineer from Wright County, and the $1,300 to bury the wires, so that isn't going to be a problem.
Okay.
And the tree that is there is already gone. The Wright County cut it down because it was in the wires, so it shows a tree on the survey, but that tree has already been removed.
That'd be Wright Hennepin, the electric provider, is the one who would have done that one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, and
Okay.
I don't have anyone else on the call for this matter, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Charlotte, it's to you.
Okay, question. With that sort of elevation, for that, I'd like to see the garage rotated if possible, but will that elevation impact that?
To rotate it, actually what's going to affect the garage if you rotate it, then the driveway is going to be over the top of the sewer.
Not good.
Let me, if it's rotated, wait. I see the lines of the sewer is the south half of the property, so how does the driveway? I'm just looking for extra room for parking.
Greenfield.
Right.
So you're not hitting it straight on.
Right, and oh, I see what you leave the doors facing the road, you just rotate it so it's 26 deep and 32 long instead of, right now it's 26 long and 32 deep, or whichever way you want to, you know, term it.
Well, that was one of the suggestions that you made in the staff report. With rotating the orientation.
Actually, I think I said you can't because of the septic.
But you forgot the apostrophe T.
In the summary.
Oh, yeah, but that's right. You leave the garage doors where they're at, but
Yeah.
that's the only way to gain space is to either push it forward towards the house, which that makes probably more fill, more excavation, more elevation, or, you know, this gets more complicated if you push it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a
Yes.
Okay,
dock
just
where
wanted to-
everything's flawless.
Yeah, that is a
And
fairly
that's sort
good.
of parallel to where you have it in right now? On the survey?
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that, Charlotte.
Elevation is parallel to where the proposed garage is spotted in on the survey?
Perpendicular, elevation runs perpendicular to the orientation of the garage right now.
I guess I'm looking at the wrong thing then.
I think. I don't know, I think.
Okay, never mind. I'm looking at the square that's further right, but those are not part of a structure, those are actually arrows. But I can't see them on my PDF.
Okay. Yeah, right now,
I'm okay with it.
okay. Yeah, right now, the structure would be 12 feet from the edge of the septic.
Okay.
Okay? Dennis?
Right. Yeah, looking at it and as far as the road setbacks, I know we're relatively close there, but Forsyth Avenue where he's in down there is a minimum traveled road. It's maintained by the township, it's been taken care of down there, but there's not a lot of traffic in there and it's not a through road.
Mostly seasonal.
Yeah, so I guess I'm okay with it and what he's asking and for the setbacks, pertaining to what I know of the property down there and I've been in there many times.
Dan?
For me, it was that you got on the writing the 22-foot setback, which I would be okay with. However, on the drawing on the certificate of survey, it shows 20 feet setback for the garage. And I'd like to see that 22 because most vehicles,
It's 20 at one corner, 22 at the other.
yeah, but I think 22 is a nice number to stay with because most vehicles are 20 foot plus long and the pickups wise. And it'd just be that road is all shifted to that side. So I'd like to see 22 feet in that tighter corner. How you adjust that, and I don't like it shifted like Charlotte was mentioning because it's nice to have that drive around your garage to get through there without driving on your drain field. So maybe go 2 feet less deep would be a good solution. And that'd get you your 22 feet off the road, or off of the traveled, or lot line anyways, I guess that is. But when you look at that overhead, that travel road's right on the lot line. It looks like maybe a couple feet.
It does shade
Okay.
these properties. It's not, even on the survey, I mean, it's not centered in the right of way.
No.
It shades the lakeside of the right of way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would just like to see, the 22 foot maintained.
Paul?
I kind of share what Dan was saying,
Oh,
Sure, Greg.
2 feet further back, it just drops significantly where that retaining wall is my concern with that. See where that retaining wall is, it's another foot drop.
Yeah.
What a 24.
That's a significant drop from where I have it planned.
Okay. Maybe a 24 by 24, if that would be okay. The garage. I'm sorry, Paul.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, Paul?
I'm fine with it. I agree with Dan and Mole in that it is not a traveled road, it's a dead end. And I think that might offset some of the concern that I had. I did measure it on my truck, and 22 feet gave me quite a couple feet on either end, so I felt comfortable with the distance, so I'm fine with it.
It's 20 though, right?
Oh, 20 and 22, it's at an angle.
Yeah, so.
okay.
I'll make,
Charlotte, you yet?
Yeah.
That's it, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as regulated in section 155.026, 155.049 F2, and 155.057 to allow construction of a 26 by 32 inch detached garage 20 feet from the edge of the platted road right away, 53 feet from the center line of the platted road.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Voice vote?
Voice vote?
Yeah.
Dan V, no.
Paul, aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
John? Aye.
Dan Mall, aye.
Very good. There you go, Greg. You just need to get your plans.
Thank you, Barry.
Yep, get your plans prepared and apply for the permit.
Sounds good.
Okay, have a good day.
I changed my mind about that
Have a
road.
good day. Thank you.
We didn't take a break, no, the last applicant was on WebEx.
Oh, okay.
We actually had an interview between there.
So this is,
Okay, we're good to go, we're rolling, you okay, Paul?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Just stretching the old eyeballs.
The next request is Valky Properties LLC. I will note we do have a caller in on the WebEx. Jane, I will unmute you when we open it to the public. So she's not in your head, so she's aware, so we're good to go. I need to get to that. There we go. So this is Valky Properties LLC.
Names.
Oh, names to Terry, please.
John Peterson appearing with Mr. Jeff Bulkey seated to my left.
Jeff Balke,
Thank you.
owner of the property.
Okay, Mr. Chair, what we're dealing with, it's a 150 acre piece of property that currently the township road ends right at the edge of the property. There's roughly 33 feet of right of way on that township road easement. And so the property's 150 acres. It has 4 building entitlements and that includes the existing farmstead. And so the request is to gain approval from the township for a cartway and then divide the properties with 27.86 acres to the west with a building entitlement and 300 feet of road frontage, a 31.85 acre parcel. These are all approximates with 300 feet of road frontage and an entitlement. 20.36 acre parcel in the far southeast corner that would have 300 feet on the cartway and the existing farmstead, and then the remaining, which if I'm not mistaken, is about 70 acres, that would have the remaining entitlement and it would have at least 300 feet of road frontage as well. We do have an exhibit that kind of shows where that frontages are, where the kind of cartway kind of comes in cul-de-sacs. They have been working with the property owner to the south. The board did just add the eastern 10 acres to that parcel here in the last couple of years. It wasn't originally a 10 acre. And she has interest in the driveway accessing the back of the property so she can avoid cutting down trees and putting in a driveway through that and through the trees. And so she's been working with Mr. Belkey with gaining the cartway so that she would have an alternate to her access. And so that is what we have for the request. We did receive a response from the township, but I'm going to read this one pretty much verbatim. It says, the township took no formal action on the matter on the division of the property. Mr. Balke presented the township with a cartway proposal / petition of which we are working through our township attorney on the matter. The township will not be able to take any formal action on this matter until our next township meeting on June 29, 2020. So that is the formal response from the township. I do have a response from Patty and Steve Hoyd. They have some concerns. They are farmers in the area, and it's the loss of farmland with any type of residential housing or development. They did ask some clarifying questions, which I did speak with them on, or I emailed them on. So, and then I did get a response from Jane Houselot, who is on the phone, and I'm going to let her give hers verbally, but it is in the file. It is of record. So. Rather than me saying it and her repeating it, I'll just let her speak to your, are you fine with that, Jane? Just nod your head if you're fine with that. She's good with that. And so I guess I'll turn it over to the applicants now and go from there.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Board, I'll start on behalf of Jeff. Just give a little bit of history on this one. This is the first issue we encountered was a lack of public road right-of-way. Furman Avenue Southwest, as Barry mentioned, came into Jeff's property and then stopped right there. So basically, even though technically he had 4 eligibilities, existing and 3 eligibilities, he didn't have adequate road frontage. Working with planning and zoning, it was understand that we're entitled to a max subdivision of 10 acres with 300 feet of public road right-of-way without having to petition for a variance. So the first thing we had to address was the cartway. Jeff appeared with Janet Swatsky in her joint petition for the dedication of the cartway, which is permitted by statute, which the township, I wasn't there, Jeff was, but the township basically said they approved that they were, the statute under which we
proceeded basically states that it's at no expense to the township. So with this cartway, the property owners are responsible for maintaining it. And I think their concern was just making sure with the township attorney that they weren't gonna have any financial obligation with respect to bringing it up to township standards, and further maintenance.
I did receive a call from one of the town board members, just giving clarification on what the township did before I got the response, and that is exactly what he said. The township's concern is that they will not maintain it, they will not.
In the resolution we provided the township basically says that it's no expense, and there's a statutory provision which basically says, you know, for this cartway, the expense is to the property owners, and they have to share it among themselves. So we've kind of proceeded that way. So pending the approval, and assuming that the county or the township does approve the township road, that does give us adequate road frontage all the way back for 300 pieces. In fact, it's 300 for 3 of the lots, and then that's about 390, I think it is, on the one subdivision.
70 acres has about 300.
Correct. The, part of the reason for the previous subdivision request is the fact that if you look at the property, again, there's no public road right-of-way anywhere around the property except where this new cartway would be. You know, rather than extend these 2 parcels on the bottom just to the max 10 acres, because of the way the creek goes through and the inability to access the back part of the property, you know, we're kind of thinking it'd be easier to push that line all the way back to the end and sell off that parcel as a whole. And that's what also, you'll notice the second parcel in, that was created in that manner basically for the potential building site and also to limit the amount of property taken out of ag production. So most of the center portion, the 70-some acres, was designed that way in an effort to keep the whole farm intact. The last little corner there in the 20.36 acres, again, we can meet the public right-of-way frontage with the cartway proposal that Mr. Abe from Meyer Erling provided. And that property is designed that way because that's basically all lowland. The existing farmstead plus low area and an accessible area. So it is, Jeff's real desire is to be able to divide it this way, and the variance request is required because we're exceeding the 10-acre max. But because of the creek and everything like that, in the way 12 Mile Creek winds through there, and because of the woods mostly is non-buildable because it's sloped down and forth back to the creek.
And that is a designated creek which carries a 100-foot setback. So, you know, although that western portion is 27 or 28 acres, building area is actually a little bit small just because it's more difficult to cross those creeks. It's much more expensive. You know, the culverts that you would have to put in and the excavation, it's going to be subject to some fairly extensive review for somebody to try it. And so the most likely scenario is a building site in that southeast of the
corner.
Yeah, in that.
I don't have much to add, other than, I'm kind of learning along the way here about how this all works, and my desire is to sell at some point. I haven't had any offers, but talking to John and just thinking through how I could most, advantageously sell the property. I guess this just made sense to me, so.
And again, we went through the criteria too for the variance, and we think we meet all the criteria. And this is, this cartway kind of example is something similar we ran into when we did the Fisher thing up in Silver Creek, where they had all that acreage but no road frontage. So and I think the way this one accommodates the best, it stays on the common property line with Janet Sawatsky. So it just kind of, the center line, it dips down. Furman actually comes out a little bit north of the quarter line, and then per the cartway exhibit, dipped it down so it would ride the common property line between Janet's and Jeff's properties.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up to the public, so I'll let her. Jane, I've unmuted you, so please state your name for Terry, please.
Yes, Jane Housewagen.
Okay, go ahead.
Barry, could you go on Beacon and kind of do an aerial view of my little 1 acre corner in the south west section of that 150 acres. While you're doing that, let me say that I've been here for 54 years. Jeff, I think, came here about 5 years ago. He's a great neighbor. I understand and respect his request to do this, but I can't support it. I think, he feels it's in his best interest, and I feel it's in my best interest to say I don't approve of this. So, okay, you can see I have just a tiny little section there. The township road comes off of County Road 8. It's about a 12-foot wide road. It curves sharply right in front of my property, and then you can see where beyond that would be the cartway. Because this was part of the original plan or homestead, when the elder decided to move off of the farm, but he wanted to stay on the property, he chose this little corner because there was a township road there. The township road actually goes through my property, and the right-of-way actually ends up in that shed that's there, but there was a variance for putting the shed where it is. The road, distance from the road to my front step is probably about 30-some, maybe 40 feet, I'm not sure. So that 12-foot gravel road has served us very well when it's a dead end at that farm homestead. When there was a farm at the end of the road and it came, through my little piece of land. My husband passed away 2 years ago. The beauty of this little piece is the peace and the quiet, the serenity, and I was hoping to be able to finish a lot of years here with that same peace and serenity. By taking 160 acres and making it into 4 basically homesteads with entitlements, you can see how that would greatly increase the traffic on this little 12-foot road. My understanding, Barry, is that any construction on a cartway, if this is approved, would not include anything on the current township road, that they're not going to try and widen through my property, the township road. Is that correct?
That would be up to the township, not me. We wouldn't have any authority of whether the township is gonna widen or not widen the road. That has nothing to do, we have no input in that at all.
Okay, thank you. But taking ag land and making 4, subdivisions, houses, you can imagine the traffic. And with Jan Slotsky having been at the Parkway there, having her future owner have access to her property. Now we're talking 5. Most households have 2 vehicles, so that's 10 extra vehicles. And that's just part of it. You have to get there. There has to be roadway construction, driveway construction, housing construction. You've got gravel trucks. You've got semis trying to come in with trusses. I just, for my best interest, I just have to say I just hate to see the land divided. And for personally, I just thought of all that traffic coming 30-some, 40 feet in front of my doorstep. I just can't agree with the request.
Okay, board?
Okay, where are we? Is it you, Dan?
Yep. How do they access the farm home site? Is that basically at the end of the gravel road and then it's just a driveway into the farm site?
Correct, exactly.
What it is now. So you're looking at turning basically the driveway into the cartway.
Correct.
Okay. I guess,
2 screens, it tends to.
Barry, am I still on?
Yes.
Okay, the access to that cartway is basically the township road through my property, right in front of my house, and right next to my shed. It's actually on my property, and again, it's a 12-foot little township road, which has served well. But the access then to that cartway is at the very end of my property, right before the Belton property starts.
okay. Yeah, that's a good map. That's a good view. Yep.
There will be, you can see the right-of-way for the little road going through my property is actually in my shed. But again, there was a variance to build that shed there. the back of the property, you can see where the house is. There's a big shed, there's a small shed, and the house is to the west of my property line. Right behind the house, you can kind of see there, it's actually a little roadway that my husband made down to the creek. But right behind our house, it drops dramatically down to the creek. I keep that all mowed, my property. But that's why in 53, when this house was built, it was brought so close to that little existing township road. But then it was, you know, it was the elder clamor that wanted to give his sons an opportunity to raise his family on the homestead. And so they took that little 1 acre, knowing that, who knows what variances were needed back then, but built this house. My husband and I moved here in 1966. We were married in 64. He finished his 2 years of the military, and then we came here first renting from the Clammers and then buying from the Clammers. So, and again, everybody that comes here talks about the peacefulness, the quietness. I've had offers or have requests if I'm going to sell, because after my husband passed away, he actually passed away in his house. I've had requests, are you going to move? And I don't want to. I mean, even that person sent me a letter asking if I was going to sell. I'd rather stay here and have it be peaceful and quiet till I'm done.
I guess somewhat where I would like to start out with is I would like for the township somewhat work out some of the road issues and make sure that they're going to work with you on a cartway. I know when we did it in Clearwater Township, I mean, it works, but we had them build it to township specs. We did do township specs. At that time it was a tar road, but we made it where we allowed a gravel road.
It wasn't, I think the conditions on that approval were that it built for emergency vehicle.
Yeah.
And buses and all of that type of
Right,
thing.
so I don't know if that's full township spec or
No.
not, because I don't think it was specified full township spec.
No, it wasn't.
Work with the township's road engineer to build it to allow for emergency vehicles and buses and stuff to go
Yes.
out.
And the resolution we drafted was similar to that we provided the township, stating that it would be built up and no permits issued until approved by the township, that it met their specification for emergency vehicle access and that type of thing. And we actually met with the township maintenance people out there before meeting with going to the township for the meeting. But again, we incorporated that in the resolution, and that's what's in the process of being reviewed with the township attorney.
And I think looking at it, I think the township, or it should come up within the discussion, you know, with the township of maybe moving the road a little bit, trying to get it out of her garage and moving that back. Even if you could cut the corner of the, you know, the other property owner is gonna benefit by being able to come down. It's unfortunate that the road goes right through her shed and ends where it does. You know, if you could work with the township a little bit, if you're already building a road, the township's approval, where if you could, the township could acquire some of the land right there in the corner, just move that corner in and get it off the shed and give her a little bit more space, because it is a strong consideration. You start building 3 homes in there, you're gonna have truck traffic, you're gonna have, you know, more things coming through there. As far as where the lot lines are put in, you can kind of look at that first lot. The only building site is gonna be probably in that field area or up towards the back, because I agree, to be able to get across that creek is going to be pretty difficult with building materials and cement trucks, and so you're gonna build up in the front corner and then probably access the backside by a little personal footbridge, or who knows what somebody will come up with. So I guess my concern would be for the township, to get the township and the road and the approval of the road, that they're going to come up with something down that line first, for me. And I think that's kind of how we did it in Clearwaters. I mean, those things were all done before.
We required, and that one was even more complicated because you had phasing. So and as of right now, they've only done phase 1. There's another phase because there's more land behind.
Right.
No one's, you know, family still owns it, they haven't sold it. No one's planned to build on some of those. So before they come to build, they'll have to extend it. But, so that one was phased because of I mean, that was almost 3/4 of a mile, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
It was pretty far,
Pretty
yeah.
long
That was a long ways back.
road, cartway.
And I think part of getting back to the initial discussion is, I think, assuming the cartway was approved and finalized, I think, I mean, Jeff would have entitlement for the subdivisions, as long as he kept them under 10 acres, with the 300 feet, he'd be entitled to them without a variance request. Part of it is more so the, getting some guidance from the board on those two parcels, especially on all three parcels actually exceed the 10 acre, just because, and it's more so because of the character of the land and the uniqueness of the land and the lack of other road frontage. I think that was part of the question here is, rather than just kind of leave that property in the back kind of unusable, inaccessible to meet the minimum 10, can we get the variance for a little larger parcel so that property owner can own all the way back to the quarter line?
As far as the way you've got it split, I can go along with the way it's split. I mean, I'm just concerned about the access or the cartway and that end of it before, I go along with it, because somebody buys a property, you've got some hunting land. I mean, and there's a lot of people that like to hunt, and that creek in there is, I'm sure, has got to attract some deer and some wildlife and some beauty. I mean, and you are preserving ag land. I mean, that is still, and you're giving a little bit of ag land to each one of the parcels, if they were to have a horse or a pasture or however you want to do it. So as far as that goes, I prefer the 10-acre splits, but being there's no other road accesses to it, I mean, I can understand what we're trying to do.
About the only other, in this case, the difference is between doing a couple of 10s and 120, because that's what you're gonna end up with.
Yep.
To do it according to ordinance standards, you do a 10, a 10, a 10 with the house, and the rest, 120 acres, would have an entitlement.
Right.
So in the end, there are 4 potential building sites. If when the township approves the cartway, then if they meet the ordinance standards, they meet the ordinance standards, and there is no need for the variance. So these are going to take place here if the township approves the cartway.
Right.
And they've given that indication, and we just haven't seen formal.
Yeah. And as far as the lot sizes and the lines, where they're at, I can go along with, as long as the township gets through all of the cartway. And I would really suggest in the township, that's on the townships, nothing here. We could get that road moved a little bit away from that property that's existing, and if it's gonna benefit the property that's already there, to move that into the corner a little bit. Because with all the, we all know how construction is, and as families grow, I think it would be beneficial.
And I don't think Janet would have a problem with it because she was joint on the petition
to
begin with. As far as property owner wise, as far as what the township says,
That kind of runs into the township issues. So that's what I have on it.
Okay. Ben?
Yeah, I like the split the way you did it, because it looks like you used pretty much natural. And kept the ag land really well intact there. I have problems with cartways though. In Clearwater, how many residents did that cartway serve?
It's in phases right now. I think there's 3 homes built on it. There's
And,
one property owner way in the far back that hasn't built anything, and I think there's 2 existing homes already built.
I think Mrs. Fisher and her daughter have built 2 homes, and then one owner in that larger piece to the north end, they built.
And what the township did there, I think basically made them build a township road, but we removed the requirement for asphalt.
Okay. Did the township then take over and maintain the road cartway?
No, we do not maintain it, just like this would be, but they had to build it to our specs so that we would accept it as a cartway.
I'd like to ask Greg, if he's still on there, how often does that cause an issue with cartways? Because if the front guy doesn't maintain that area, who plows it? And I just think it'd be opening up a can of worms there.
It does.
I can answer or I can tell you how it.
The public does have another comment. We'll finish this question first.
Okay.
Ideally, how it works is, first there's the manner in which a cartway is dedicated. It's a statutory right to dedicate land to the township, and then the township can accept it by resolution, which again, the indications are they're gonna accept that. But they don't want to incur the cost part of the reason that the township was willing to accept it was they don't incur any cost for maintenance of it. And that's done, what we did is we put into place a private maintenance agreement, which requires the parties to maintain it, and there's mechanisms in place. This would all be signed by all the property owners when they bought on. It would place a record, so then when anyone took title, it'd be subject to the cartway maintenance agreement. And there's enforcement provisions in there where if they don't pay for their share of maintenance, you can bring them to basically court to, but there are mechanisms so that it does get maintained.
Like, right in their tax?
No, it'll be in their title.
private.
It'll be in their title, so when they took property, it's subject to cartway easement maintenance agreement.
Okay, go ahead, Jane.
Excuse me, I was just gonna say I'm having a really hard time understanding some of the conversations, so I'm hoping you can kind of recap. I did hear, some are very clear, some aren't, but I did hear something about, in the title to the properties, if they're sold with 4 different entitlements, that the property owners would have to agree to maintain that cartway. Wow, I could see that becoming a nightmare. So who makes the decision as to what needs to be done? And yeah, wow. And that was one of the things I had thought of before too, is who takes care of this?
That would all be part of the resolution that the town board would have to approve.
Do they each individually have to plow their own section of the cartway, or how does, so, wow.
Well, there again, we don't get into that. That's gonna be a private agreement amongst the property owners.
Okay.
Well, and here's the thing, we don't get into it because if the township approves the cartway, they can still do divisions out here. Once the cartway has been established by resolution of the town board, it's considered a public right-of-way, and so we have to acknowledge it as public road frontage, which means they can do divisions off of it. So if they reduce the size of 3 of the divisions to no more than 10 acres, and meet our ordinance standards, these are gonna be there regardless, provided the township approves the resolution.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, that's getting into a little bit more than this board can. Yes, it's all good for the discussion, but not up to this board, who maintains it or who does what. That's gonna be all done by resolution.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I would think that would create a lot of problems though, but that's my only concern, because the divide itself with township approval, I'm okay with it.
I mean, we run into this in the planning commission where we require shared driveways. There are, especially if new lots are created along county roads, where the county wants to limit the number of access on a US highway, a lot of times they require joint accesses, so it limits the number of accesses along a stretch of highway. And I've often thought of that too. Well, what if one neighbor ends up being the one that does all the maintenance for that first 50 feet off the highway? It's like, well, that's between them. It's not. If they want to be able to divide the land, they have to meet those certain conditions, and then it will matter on that.
And planning and zoning just had one of those a few months ago.
Did they?
Yeah, and it's civil.
And in these, it's not an ideal situation. I mean, ideally, this would be a built, dedicated township road that the township would maintain. The difficulty is that anytime you get the larger residential development you get, the less money the township's going to get to maintain it. So they lose in the process when you have these types of requirements. Where they're already maintaining the road, it doesn't matter, because then it's going to be an increase because they're already spending the money on maintaining. In this case, this is new. So a lot of times new roads are a little bit tougher to get, especially with the more frontage and fewer lots, because economically it makes a difference.
And one of the items, just for, while we're on the topic, is when the cartway was proposed and when we met with the township out there, if you look at the end, the township maintenance actually preferred that loop at the end, because they said, right now what they're doing is they're coming up and they're plowing up to the end of Furman, then they gotta back up and turn around and go back out. They said, it actually, for them, they preferred going down and they could loop and come back out.
That would be really sweet if you talked them into maintaining that road.
Well, they
donate it to land to them.
Quite on, well, I don't, like I said, we can't make the township do it, but they said it'd be easier for them plowing wise just to keep going, hit the loop and come back out, than it would be to do what they're doing now, which they come up to the end of Furman and then they can't block. the property owner back, so they gotta kind of push the snow around and then they back up and then leave and.
Even with Paul's concern earlier about a bus, I mean, that's.
So I think for the most part, Charlotte, do you have any additional comments?
No, I think it's a reasonable position of the property. The farmstead with the wetlands, the 70-acre ag land, and the 2 wooded parcels. And the cartway, that has to be worked out with the township.
So does the board want to wait to get that formal resolution approved by the team? Because that's what it sounds like you were.
I would prefer, before we approve, I mean,
Right.
like you say, but I would like to see, I'm okay with the way it's at, but I would like to get the township to do their due diligence on things
If
before.
anything changed, that could change.
Right, because you don't know what the township is gonna feel or what they're gonna want, or,
So we continue, or do we?
Does that require another meeting?
It would require another meeting, but we continue, and you don't need to provide us
Okay.
anything until the township actually decides, and it said June something, so this would be into July. July 17th.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with everybody. As far as having the township do some of this work that need to get done, straighten that road out if they can. I think you did a great job and took a lot of time and effort in dividing the property. And I loved it when you said preserve ag land, did a great job.
Thanks.
As far as the one woman that's concerned, if it's any consolation, I live in a similar situation, except it was reversed. My home was on a cartway and they converted it to a township road. I'm very close and I have 5 other neighbors down that are past me. And it's really not that bad, actually. It's kind of nice. You get the wave every day, and yeah, I have some really great neighbors, and hopefully you'll have the same experience that I have for the last 30 years, so.
Okay, so then at this point, given kind of what's transpired and what the township has put for their next meeting date, the appropriate measure would be to continue July 17th.
I'll make a motion to continue.
I have a question. So did the township, in what you read, did they state that they were going to meet again to discuss, or was there something that may be decided by the township even before the next meeting?
What they said is the town board will not be able to take any formal action until the next township meeting on June 29th. So what we'd want to see is an approved resolution on the 29th, so John will work with them,
Yeah.
get all that squared away.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to continue this on the 22nd,
July 17th.
July 17th meeting.
I'll second it.
been moved and seconded. All in favor by voice.
Dan V, aye.
Paul, aye?
Dan Mall, aye.
Don Jones, aye.
Charlotte?
Charlotte, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry, can you should put this on the record. And so what we're gonna do, Mr. Chairman, is we're going to take the next item that logically followed the previous one, which is the Nelson lot line adjustment request. Please bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to send the applicants, the lines kind of got a little bit crisscrossed. He thought the meeting was tonight. So what I'm going to do is send him the WebEx invitation request, and he's going to call in. And I'd like to do that right now so he can get in, make sure there's no issues while we go through the next applicant. The next applicant is on the WebEx. Hi, Callie, are you there?
I am. Hi, good morning.
Okay, yep, just give me just one moment here. I believe you probably heard all that conversation. I gotta find my meeting request and get that sent out to Mr. Carlson. So we do have another applicant that's on, and she is on the WebEx. And so I'll frame it up. This is the Matthew Nelson request. We have Callie Gelberg Nelson on WebEx. And so I'll just kind of jump into it, Mr. Chairman. The request is to add approximately 16,600 square feet from the whole Mystic Enterprises 48.6 acre farm property to the north to the applicant's current lakeshore lot. The lot is about 86 feet along the road, and it includes about 200 feet of lakeshore. As you can see, I also put some kind of setback information in just to show, you know, it would be added property, added lakeshore, but there really isn't. About the only thing you could build or do there would be, you know, if they wanted to do a boathouse or some other water-oriented structure. The lake does allow it, limited to 250 square feet, but, you know, they couldn't build a pole barn or anything over that. It's basically, it could potentially be a secondary septic if at some point they needed it, or, you know, a small water-oriented structure. We did receive the township's approval. And I did not get any other comments. So, Callie, do you have anything more to add?
No, really, as you said, we're not planning on building on it. We would probably just move our swing set over there and maybe the trampoline. So just want to extend our property line, and that's it.
Okay, I think we're to you, Dan.
I have no issues with it. I just out of curiosity, I'd like to see, where's their lot line at now? How much lakeshore do they, but that's,
Oh yeah, it's hard to see.
yeah.
There's their property line is right here, so this is
Okay.
what they have for lake frontage right now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there'd be a problem with adding that. I think it'd actually be good.
I don't have a problem. One quick question, Barry, though, do we have to join this as a lot of record then, or how's that work?
We would, in this case, similar to what we discussed before, one's platted, one is not, so we couldn't physically join them under one tax ID, but we would need to condition it that survey and administrative order be submitted and signed to the planning and zoning office.
Charlotte?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. I also am okay with it.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request of lot line adjustment as regulated in section 155.026, E2 155.00048, B 10 155.049, and 155.057 of chapter 155, title 15, land usage and zoning of the Wright County Code of Ordinance to add approximately 16,600 square feet from the whole Mystic property to the Nelson lot, subject to a survey administrative order. Administrative order.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Roll call?
Roll call.
Dan V, aye.
Paul, aye.
John, aye.
Dan Mall, aye.
Charlotte, aye.
Motion carried. There you go, Callie. You would just need,
Thanks a lot.
yeah, just get a survey done, submit it to the office, and our staff will do an order that ties these two properties together, stating that they can't be sold separately.
Okay,
And
sounds
then,
good, thank
and
you.
then you'll be good for the purchase.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Bye now.
Gary, are you here?
Yes, I am.
There we go. We can roll right into, this is the one that we continue to the end of the agenda, Mr. Chairman. I need to go back on my, there we go. This is the Gary and Lonnie Carlson request. We do have Gary Carlson on the WebEx. The request is for a new 24 by 24 detached garage to be 18 feet from the edge of the road right of way, 52 feet from the center line of the right of way. The lot is 20,003 square feet in size. Hey, I need to my presentation back. Okay, so the lot is 20,003 square feet in size. There was a previous action in 2001 that rearranged the existing platted lots to make them, these were all originally 50-foot lots that are from an old plat. I think it's Rolling Hills Lake Shore or Scenic Shores, one of the two. And they reconfigured them. This was back before the state statute requiring common ownership. So they went through a hearing to rearrange the lots, you know, reducing the number of lots and making them bigger and better from a building standpoint. So I do have the proposed location of the structure, showing that it'll be 18 feet from the edge of the right-of-way and 52 feet from the center line of the road. I really don't have a whole lot more to add. We did get township approval. Removal of an existing shed and the placement of a garage makes sense, makes good use of the lot size. Give me just 1 second. Actually, it'll be 12 feet from the edge of the right-of-way. The 18 feet is from the property line to the north. Actually, it'll be 12 feet from the right. This one is oriented so that...
12 feet.
Go ahead, Gary.
12 feet will be 12 feet from the property line.
Yep, that's the edge of the road right-of-way. At least according to the drawing I have, it shows it from... it reads 18 feet, but I did see the township. Those must have gotten a little bit mixed up. So, well, is it going to be 18 feet from the edge of the road right-of-way?
So actually from the road, from the center line of the road, it'll be 46 feet from the center line of the road, which is 12 feet off the property line.
So it'll be 12 feet from the right-of-way, not 18.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, your right of way is the property line, right?
Yep.
Right. Paul?
No, I don't have any problem with the variance request. I'm good.
Okay. Charlotte?
Is the proposed garage supposed to be 24 square or 22 by 24? The township approved 22 by 24. Is that
22 by 24. 22 by 24.
Okay, so that's what it is on the drawing as well.
Yeah.
So it's the county mistake. Correct?
Possibly.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, I'm okay with what he's proposing.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm okay too. It is 20 by 24, just like on your plan. Okay, that was my question.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve a variance of section 155.026 and 155.0492, chapter 155, title 15 of the land usage and zoning of Wright County Code of Ordinance to allow construction of a new 22 by 24 detached garage to be 12 feet from the edge of the road right-of-way and 46 feet from the center line of the right-of-way.
May I raise another question? I noticed my note I missed.
Well, let's get
A second first? Okay.
I'll second it.
Yes, now discussion.
The lot line as drawn on the overhead, and you noted that you're removing that shed because it was too close. How much further back are you than that?
The back of the garage would be 18 feet off the back property line.
Oh, okay, off that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit further.
Okay.
Like about 4 feet.
The shed will be going, the shed will be going away completely.
So your garage footprint won't be, it'll be further than that shed was. Right?
That's correct.
Very good.
I do have a quick bit of discussion, based on, other ones that we've had even today. This plan shows the garage doors oriented facing south. Does the board want to condition that? What I don't want to have happen is the board approve this. In the process, it twists and all of a sudden they're west, and now there's no room for a vehicle to be there without being on the right of way. So approve it based on the garage doors facing south.
Correct.
Correct.
Garage door is facing south, correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go, so it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Dan, Vic, aye.
Paul, aye.
John, aye.
Dan Mall, aye.
Charlotte said aye too. We need a site inspection. So you're good, Gary. Just get your plans in and apply for your building permit.
All right, sounds good, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
John, you looking for a motion to adjourn?
Well, we got a site,
Oh,
We got a site inspection.
oh, okay, yeah.
I'm free, just let me know when.
Me too.
Other than Thursday mornings, I can't Thursday mornings.
No, it's still, this is still part of the public meeting.
Okay,
So do we have a date?
give us one.
Well, no,
How about next
Up to Dan.
Friday the 12th?
Friday the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
Oh,
works?
next Friday.
be next Friday.
Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Okay, I
Who
can't.
do you want
Can
to?
Charlotte?
Charlotte?
Quick question, how are we gonna do this, separate cars?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm riding with, I have no preference. Or don't you want me to?
You can do both. I mean, we could,
we can, the county's policy is if you're going to be less than 6 feet of distance, you just be required to wear a mask. So it's up
the
to
van
you.
is pretty long. Two people can ride in the
Yeah.
van and
Yeah.
one in back, one in front. Whatever, I mean, or we can follow.
What did you do? Oh, you missed it?
I missed it yesterday, but what we had
Drove separate.
planned on is we all drove separate and followed the county, is what we set it up as.
Just do that then.
You want to meet here or meet on the site?
No, meet
For
here.
you guys coming from the north, this is the block one on Ida. So John, you'd probably just meet us there.
Yeah, can't make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you live out there, you know.
Yeah.
And Dan, if you just want to drive separate, then you can leave. Right to
Yeah.
work, or- Paul, if you want to come here, we
I'll
can
follow you,
either follow me or we could
either or, yeah.
carpool in that one out. Got an app anywhere, so.
Okay, maybe a carpool.
We can do that, but I can meet you here, and Dan, you want to meet here?
Yeah, I'll be here, yeah.
Okay.
And then what time?
So we'll meet here at, should we say,
8? 8:30?
you want 8 or 8:30?
Earlier the better for me.
Early
I mean, that's
for me,
fine
Well,
for me.
let's meet here at 8.
8.
Perfect. Okay.
And Charlotte, are you just gonna drive yourself and meet at the site?
Yeah, we'll drive over, so what time on the property?
8 here, let's say 8:30 on site, just gives us a little bit of leeway.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 You need roll call? No.
Paul?
Aye, I'm sorry.
Come on, Dan's late.